Mathnasium.com. Mathnasium. We're changing lives through math.
It's Reaction Monday.
Feel free to let it loose.
Got thoughts about the game? Call or text us at 404-6100 or hit us up on Twitter at 1075 The Game.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
1075 The Game. The early game with Bill Gunter.
Jen, I feel like that should be the motto of this program. Gunter's probably a good kid, but I've never understood why 1075 The Game puts him on radio. I like that from Brian there. He's probably a good kid.
And Jen Jensen.
During the break, you can learn that when we bring up the live mascot, we refer to it as the bird. Jen thinks that means that she can start telling me I'm number one using her fingers in a particular one. So
is there a listener who would disagree with me?
Yeah,
I'm thinking not.
There you go.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
Did you just flip me off?
No.
Yes, you did. You just flipped me the bird. Now, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't shape up, okay, and get your head straight, there, you just flipped me off again.
1075 The Game.
Carolina 1 of 2 on the night so far. On third down, Marshawn Lloyd in the backfield, straight at the middle. Marshawn inside the 20, leaping a man at the 15, at the 10. Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown, Marshawn Lloyd from 25 yards out. And part of it, he was 6 feet off the ground over a 49er defender. And the Gamecocks, with the extra point, could make it 10-7.
And that was the call on Saturday night as, lo and behold, South Carolina ran the football, in which I basically begged them to do on Friday afternoon or Friday morning when we all convened. 40 rushes, 295 yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, and it's led mostly by Marshawn Lloyd's 15 carry, 169-yard performance and 3 touchdowns, including that leaping over the top, hurdling touchdown run. It's Charlotte. Charlotte's 1-4 now. Their defense is porous and bad, but the goal was to win the game and run the football, and South Carolina did it. It doesn't make them SEC champions. It doesn't convince us the Gamecocks have bowl eligibility in their sight. All it does is tell us that South Carolina is now 2-2 on the season, and you celebrate that. You enjoy it. Welcome in on a Monday morning, September the 26th, Bill Gunter, Jen Jensen, and a whole bunch of you out there as we get up and we start a brand new week, a week in which South Carolina, again, advances to 2-2. Clemson survives Wake Forest, a really, really fun game in Winston-Salem. An interesting week across the board of college football, and I will talk a little NFL because I got invested in that Dolphins-Bills game yesterday. That was an absolute thriller as well. So a fun weekend that was. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. You can join us via the text line, or you can call in and join us via the Love Chevy phone lines. As always, you can go to our live stream where DC, Jerry, and Jason all up. Jason saying it was nice to not worry about the fourth quarter. Yes, let's not get carried away and start proclaiming that South Carolina's ready to go on and march to Atlanta. They're 0-2 in the SEC. But we don't need to take it too far, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy and take away good things from Saturday night, a time that South Carolina actually scores 50 offensive points. If you listen to me on this program on Friday morning, I didn't think they'd score 40 offensive points. So 56 offensive points, however it came about, turnovers, interceptions, a lot of points in the third quarter. Enjoy that. Celebrate it. Just take it for what it is. That's all you can do. So we'll get into that this morning and talk a lot about how the game went down. Got a lot of audio for you. Jamie Bradford's a little under the weather. He may try and play through it a little bit and join us in the 7 o'clock hour, and we'll take your phone calls and your text messages as well. Richard gets us started this morning. Actually, Jim in Carolina Beach was up extremely early at 5:02 this morning with a text message. Our buddy who celebrated his birthday last weekend says, good win for the Gamecocks. There you go. See Jim in Carolina Beach, not even talking about his Clemson Tigers and their victory. He's just pointing out what the Gamecocks did. And Richard saying another great weekend of college football. College football playoffs should be exciting because no one has seemed to separate themselves and dominate each week. Well, I disagree with that. Georgia is dominant. I know that this weekend they slept walk to a 39-22 victory over Kent State, but the Bulldogs, the Crimson Tide, and even the Ohio State Buckeyes, who demolished poor Bucky the Badger this past weekend, are they're the dominant teams in the sport. Michigan having a little bit of a slogfest there with Maryland 34-27, Clemson surviving Wake Forest and Sam Hartman 51-45 in double overtime. Brent Venables and Oklahoma, well, they're no longer undefeated. Kansas State takes them down 41-34. Southern Cal needed everything they had in the bag to win 17-14. Kentucky rolled along 31-23. Really interesting one there in Jerry World, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Arkansas falling 23-21 after racing out to a 14-0 lead, a 97-yard fumble return for a touchdown by Texas A&M sparks the comeback, and Arkansas, a number 10 team, or what, a formerly number 10 team in the country, falls to Texas A&M as Texas A&M's put back-to-back wins over top 25 programs or programs that are supposed to be top 25. Miami, oh boy. Brother-in-law's a big Miami fan. Didn't talk to him this weekend. Didn't want to bother him. He didn't. That was unnecessary. There was no need to contact the brother-in-law after Miami falls to Middle Tennessee. That was rough. That was not good. So remember, things could always be a lot worse. Florida, Tennessee was a lot of fun this weekend. We'll get into the whole breakdown, go through a lot of the games that took place on, again, what was another fun weekend of college football. And again, it's always fun when your team wins. It's fun when you don't have to sweat out the fourth quarter, and South Carolina was able to do that. So again, if you want to be a part of the program, 803-404-6100, how you can join in, be a part of the program, talk to us. Again, you can go to the live stream where Anthony, RL, DC, all hanging out with us, and we will continue to get you through your Monday morning. Let's get out to those Love Chevy phone lines. It wouldn't be a start to the program if Gamecock Larry didn't weigh in with a little bit of excitement to get your Monday up and going. Gamecock Larry, how you feeling this morning? I'm assuming in a good mood, very happy. 50 points probably perks your eyebrows up and makes you feel very happy.
I told you all last week, 51 plus to 27 minus. I told you that we were going to get at least 51 points. We got them. I tell you what, haven't said it before. I'm going to tell you the truth. Old Gamecock Larry expected to be 3-2 when we go to Kentucky. I didn't, but I'd never bet against the Gamecocks, so I kept saying that. But we're going to go to Kentucky 3-2. And I ain't going to say nothing just yet, Stoops, but we're on the way. But we're on the way. Hoops, Stoops, we're coming after you. We got to, I believe we know what we're going to do. And now another thing, I want to say a little something about this SEC network. Yesterday in the morning, old Gamecock Larry got up early, 5:15, got up, went in there and got ready to come in here and get me a cup of coffee, turn my TV on, put it on SEC network. Oh, boy, we seen where Georgia playing Kent State and just from playing this one and that one, all them little teams playing the big team. We seen that all last week and the last 2 weeks when 611 come on, something about the SEC final or something. Didn't say one word about the Gamecocks until 5 minutes to 9. Let me tell you something down there in Alabama. What's his name? Burns, McGee, and all them. No, they ain't the one to come on Sunday morning. But you guys need to get your stuff in order because we're going to come back from Kentucky about 4-2. Go Gamecocks. Love all y'all. Have a good weekend. We on the way, Gamecock Nation. We on the way. This is the first step. We're going to be all right. Go Gamecocks.
Appreciate the phone call. It's a lot of turns in that conversation there.
Yeah. Well, we need to give the SEC Network a reason to talk about us.
Left and right. Yeah. They talking about a 2-2 team with a victory over a really, really bad Charlotte team doesn't really generate the publicity on the SEC Network out of Charlotte. I should add, they're not they're out of Charlotte. Where the studio, you know what, doesn't matter. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in this morning. I will admit, I did not go back. Normally on Sunday, I will go back and rewatch the game. Rewind some things, kind of rewatch, look at certain things. AC weighs in this morning and says the broadcast quality of the Carolina game was pretty bad, but at least they never cut to Aaron Judge striking out. I got on the message boards on Saturday night, just kind of trying to settle down, get in bed, and everything. And I read the reviews. Jen, I don't know if you were at the game. We actually didn't talk this weekend. It's kind of a nice weekend for both of us, I reckon. But I have read the reviews of people talking about the ESPNU broadcast, and it was atrocious. Apparently this was one of the worst broadcasts that has ever been done. The quality, the sound, just the commentating. I don't know who was even on the color commentary.
That makes several of us. One of the guys, he played football somewhere.
Okay.
But yeah, it was, I was hearing a lot of people comparing it to maybe like a Jefferson Pilot broadcast.
Oh, well, those are fun.
Yeah. So there was a lot of times where you didn't get a replay rather quickly, like there's a play and then you expect to be able to look and see what the replay was. And it's like, oh, well, now they've snapped the ball yet again. And maybe one more time. Then you get a replay from a play or two before. And the rendering, like a friend of mine who does camera work and stuff like that, he's like, could anybody go and maybe tell them to like white balance their cameras because the field looked kind of like limey, yellowy. It was not well done at all.
Yeah, I did not I did not go back yesterday and rewatch the game because apparently just atrocious, and AC pointing that out this morning. If you want to be a part of the program, 803-404-6100. We'll get back out to those Love Chevy phone lines. We'll get a couple of you weighing in on the text line. Dustin weighing in. I'll get to that. Richard talking about his Notre Dame offense against North Carolina. That was a bit of a surprise this weekend as well. So a lot happening this morning as we are off and running a brand new week. And if Gamecock Larry's phone call was a sign of things to come, apparently we're just going to skip over South Carolina State and start talking about Kentucky. We prefer not to do that, but at least this morning we will look back at the Charlotte game, get you a little audio, talk about what we saw. South Carolina runs the football finally. Hey, it worked. 40 carries, 295 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Marshawn Lloyd with a 15-carry, 169-yard, 3-touchdown game leads the way for the Gamecocks. We'll talk about that. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game on 107.5, The Game.
It's our 15th anniversary, and without you, Columbia,
This might be a polka station by now.
our 15th anniversary celebration is sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, getting you better sooner.
On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game. 107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. Shepherd's
Get you a traffic report right now.
Just a couple incidents to let you know about early this morning. We have a car versus deer incident, Lower Richland Boulevard at Bluff Road. Also have a report of an accident, and that is Broad River Road near I-20. Mostly sunny today, 87 for the high. Gets a little bit cooler. The sunshine, 81 on Tuesday, 75 on Wednesday. But we are watching and tracking Ian, because that could be impacting our weather later in the week. But right now, 65 at 107.5 The Game.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute. On Sunday, Beehive formed under a Tampa Bay goalpost. A rogue drone interrupted play in Seattle. Denver won 11-10, and MVP contenders Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Josh Allen all lost. Houston's Lovie Smith just can't buy a win. Detroit collapsed against Minnesota. And New England's Mac Jones threw 3 picks and was later injured. I'm Boomer Esiason.
Ray.
Morning. 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 Yeah. It's gonna be one of those mornings. I can already see it. Going to be one of those mornings. Walked out, left the coffee. Had to go by the gas station and buy a Starbucks energy coffee beverage. Tastes like I'm drinking chocolate Rice Krispie, the milk, like if you poured chocolate Rice Krispies. Was it chocolate? Whatever. Drank the milk out of the bowl. We're off to a good start. We're off to a good start. What that was. I apologize. My energy on the live stream could be lacking this morning. We had 4 soccer games over the weekend. Now, I didn't play in any of them, but Austin did. But I'm whipped. And I know you show up on the live stream expecting Cocoa Krispies. Was that it? Yeah. Yeah, Larry, good job. Cocoa Krispies. Cocoa, yeah. Yeah, I know y'all come each and every morning for the energy that I provide, but I can tell this one's going to be a fight. We had to be in Augusta at 8:30. 8:30 on the Saturday morning. Yeah, like I said, walked right out, took the trash out, said about it, didn't go back in the house. Coffee is sitting right there as you walk in my house, my thing of coffee. So thankfully I was looking at the TV. So thankfully I was down here early and I was able to go by and get this double shot energy. Oh, it's just supports focus. Look at that. Supports. Well, all right. Well, see if that's the case this morning. Very sweet not to leave the kids. Very sweet of you there. Whatever you got, just play it coming back. You got something?
Halftime, we always the offense breaks up, the coaches, the defense breaks up. I usually bounce around, but I was with the defense tonight, but I didn't need to say anything. I mean, the thing that I was going to say to them is exactly what Clayton said to the staff. We ain't changing any calls. We just got to compete better because we didn't feel like our guys were competing like we wanted them to. So I didn't have to say anything really. Clayton was already handling it with his staff. Now, I don't want to say forcefully, but made it very clear what he expected in the second half from the defensive coaching staff and the players that they coach. I mentioned to them just that exactly, and then just reminding our guys, a couple times in the first half, their quarterback. We always tell our guys, any coach does, when you're coming off the edge, under pressure to go to that upfield shoulder so he can't spin out of it. And we missed about 2 or 3 sacks. It looked like in the first half, not doing that. But that was really it. You know, I had a bunch of things I was going to talk about with the defense when I went in there, but Clayton handled it and they responded.
That's Shane Beamer on Saturday night after the game, talking about the conversation had in the locker room. Yeah, the start of the game, very entertaining. South Carolina kicks a field goal after a fairly long drive that went 72 yards, 12 plays, and took up 5 minutes. The Gamecocks would settle for a field goal. The only problem I had with the drive, it was a good drive. South Carolina gets down to the 2-yard line, and it's second and goal, and then they decide we're going to try play action pass, and it doesn't work. I wish they would have just stuck with the run. Again, just hand the ball off, stick with the run, and South Carolina would end up settling for a field goal. But it was a good drive, 12 plays, 72 yards. The problem was Charlotte turned right around and matched the Gamecocks. They went 13 plays and 90 yards over 7 minutes. So basically the first half was just about finished up. The Gamecocks got the ball with 3 minutes left in the half and was able to go down and put up another touchdown there at the start of the second quarter, literally right at the start of the second quarter, as they scored there with 14:52 to go in the second quarter. And South Carolina takes a 10-7 lead, but Charlotte would answer back. 12 plays, 81 yards, eating up 5 minutes of the clock. And so right off the bat, you kind of watched Chris Reynolds and Charlotte move the ball in the South Carolina defense, and you went, uh-oh, Charlotte offense is pretty creative, pretty good. And then thankfully there was an injury. I shouldn't say thankfully. We never want anybody to get injured, but maybe a good sign was there was an injury to Chris Reynolds, and Charlotte wasn't able to continue to match their offensive output. And South Carolina, was able to keep putting points on the board all night long, and that leads to a 56-20 victory. We'll keep getting audio from Shane Beamer this morning and let you listen to that. Again, if you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100 is how you can be a part of the program. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Josh is up next this morning. Josh, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Good morning, man. Hey, listen, yes, we do have to keep in mind that it was Charlotte, but I really do love the game plan going into this game. They had to get some type of run game established and get these guys confidence in the running game. Confidence can be a big deal, especially when you've struggled to run the ball for the last 3 weeks. You're going to have that moving forward. You can't be one-dimensional in the SEC, and there's some opponents we've got down the stretch, like Tennessee comes to mind. You're going to have to play defense with your offense and get some long, sustained drives to keep that offense off the field. So it's something that needed to get established. At the end of that game, I saw a lot of smiles. I saw a lot of guys that were a lot of confident guys. I would like to see the pass protections obviously going to have to improve. I think the run game can open up and make things a little bit easier for Spencer Rattler. Pass protection, like I said, though, is going to have to improve. I mean, there was the one sack they had. They only sent 4 guys. He had 5 to block 4, and there's no reason they should have got to him on that play. Defensively, the turnovers I think were a big confident booster. We've struggled to get turnovers through 3 games. They do have to keep in mind that the competition is going to get stiffer going down the road, and it is Charlotte. But confidence can be a big thing. I mean, I think about a shooter in basketball who's in a slump, and seeing it go through on a shot can mean the world in getting out of that slump. So to see things work and see it work, that's good. I'd like to see the defense make some adjustments a little bit quicker than they do sometimes. Those first 2 drives Charlotte had, those scoring drives, I mean, they weren't getting back there. They weren't putting enough pressure on them. I was hoping we would get pressure with 4. And there were times through the game that they did buckle down and get some pressure on, with the D-line. But, as soon as they started sending an extra guy, I think about the big hit Brad Johnson got, which was the one that really kind of started the injury process with their quarterback. But they really started getting to him when they sent an extra guy, and then the defensive line kind of stacked up. But like I said, I'd like to see him start making those adjustments a little bit quicker instead of 2 or 3 drives down, because, had the offense not been able to score, it could have been 14-0 before they made an adjustment. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just got to be done quicker, in my opinion. So, but I think it was a really good win. Take that confidence forward. We'll see if it translates through the rest of the season, but good win overall. I'm impressed.
Appreciate the phone call, Josh. Yeah, I mean, one thing that is a major problem for South Carolina that really is not being discussed is defensively. Jordan Strachan, obviously, as we know, is out. Terrell Dawkins, it was announced after the game by Shane Beamer, will miss several weeks with a knee injury of his own. The South Carolina defensive line, especially at defensive end, is becoming thin. They're starting to run low on pass rushers, and that's going to be a major issue now with Strachan out. Jordan Birch is more of a physical, bigger defensive end. I've never really thought he was the kind of twitchy defensive end, kind of rangy defensive end like South Carolina's seen in the past with Devin Taylor and Jadeveon Clowney, obviously, and even going back to some of the other ones, Cliff Matthews. Birch is, to me, more of a run-stopping, heavier set defensive end when you talk about a guy in the 270s, 280s, as opposed to the long, lanky guys like Strachan. Gilbert Edmond, I think, has continued to play really well at the defensive end position for the Gamecocks. But finding a pass rush with a front four, and Charlotte exploited some of that. Will Levis in Kentucky will in a couple of weeks. Texas A&M and Max Johnson will probably try and take advantage of that. South Carolina's going to have to continue to find a pass rush, and you saw that early on, struggling to get to the quarterback. They were able to make some adjustments there at halftime once they got into the locker room and obviously settle down and shut down Charlotte in the remainder of the second half. A lot of that having to do with Chris Reynolds, I think, being out. But, again, it's a game where South Carolina did what they're supposed to do. I mean, that's all this game means. That's all this game means is they did what they were supposed to do. They ran the football. They did it effectively. Yes, Charlotte's defense is not very good, but when you're playing a team who doesn't have a good defense, you take advantage of it. And that's exactly what Marcus Satterfield and Shane Beamer and the offense did. They didn't punt all night long. You can't ask them to do anything else or anything more than what they did. The defense finally started getting stops, and South Carolina is able to find a way to win this ball game 56-20. 803-404-6100. Let's get back out to the Love Chevy phone lines. David wants to weigh in this morning. David, how you doing? What's on your mind?
I'm doing fine. Hope you are too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking anything away from this game. No pats on their backs. I feel like the Charlotte and the State game are just opportunities for us to get ourselves together to do what we need to do against Kentucky. If the Kentucky game goes like the Arkansas and Georgia games, then I do think a change needs to be made. Appreciate what you do, Bill and Jen. Hope y'all have a good day.
You too. Yeah. Let's not. Kentucky's going to be a top 10 team. That's what Mark Stoops is built. And he's done it over 10 years. We'll get to Kentucky obviously next week, but I think it is important to remember Kentucky's a good football program. I mean, that's just a matter of fact as it is now. I think if you're a South Carolina fan, one of the things you're pulling for is for somebody at Nebraska to realize Mark Stoops would be a good fit at their program, a guy who can recruit, can coach, can do all those things. And you hope over time that's what Shane Beamer develops into. You'd be very happy if he developed into a Mark Stoops. But we'll talk a lot about Kentucky coming up, but certainly the Wildcats a 31-23 victory over Northern Illinois this past weekend. They will move on, and the Gamecocks will get them. I think Kentucky plays Mississippi this coming weekend, which should be a lot of fun there as the Rebels and Lane Kiffin. I believe that is the matchup this coming weekend. I'll look and confirm that here in just a second. 803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program this morning. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game's 15th anniversary rewind.
2009.
Michael Jackson dies at the age of 50. The movie Avatar is released. It'll go on to break many box office records. U.S. Airways Flight 1549 is struck by geese, forcing a crash landing on the Hudson River by pilot Sully Sullenberger. All 155 people on board survived. At Carolina, the football team went 7-6 and lost the Papa John's Bowl to UConn. The men's basketball team finished 21-10 in Coach Darren Horn's first year. The women's hoop squad completed Coach Don Staley's first season 10-18. And the baseball team went 40-23 and advanced to the NCAA regionals.
Our 15th anniversary celebration on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, getting you better sooner.
On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game and the new 107.5 The Game app. 107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
We do have a report of a car versus deer incident, slowing things down a little bit. Lower Richland Boulevard at Bluff Road. Also an accident, Broad River Road near I-20. And a forecast for today, going to be a high of 87 under mostly sunny skies, 81 tomorrow. Gets a little cooler midweek, 75 and 71 Wednesday and Thursday. And, of course, we are tracking Ian, that hurricane going to be causing some issues potentially for the Midlands. Right now, though, 65 at 107.5 The Game.
I'm Chris Rose with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers held off a late rally by Tom Brady and the Bucs to prevail 14-12 in a defensive struggle in Tampa. The Bucs were called for a delay of game while attempting a potential.
That's good.
We can turn that up a little bit, maybe.
That's all right. All right. So we got to give tickets away.
We don't have any yet. That's just promoting that we'll have some to give away.
Okay, so I'm giving some today.
I haven't seen anything. I'll double check email, but I haven't. I haven't seen anything.
Okay. No, I was looking real quick at. Oh, good. No cheer practice. So I didn't see this weekend. No, I was gonna see Terry sent a bunch of. I was just gonna play crap throughout the morning.
I haven't gotten his stuff yet. I just got what Dave cut.
He was up late.
All right, I'll go through that.
No, I'm not real worried. The only one I'd really want is the Brian Harsin Auburn one.
Check my email to see it.
No, but you'll look at it. A lot of it is stuff. I wouldn't be that concerned about it because a lot of it is not stuff that you and I will use.
Yeah.
And I don't even really see. I definitely don't know Pearson. It's like Jimbo Fisher post game, Brian Harsin post game, Eli Drinkwitz post game, Sam Pittman post. You see what I'm saying? Like it's not. I see what he's doing. He's just sending audio, but I wouldn't just when you get a chance. I use like the 8 o'clock hours, that one Brian Parsons thing. So I can use that for talking about how Auburn stinks. And Jamie Bradford, he had texted me last night and said he was sick, but he said he just texted me, said he was good. So
Oh, okay, good. Well, that helps. Yeah, I didn't think
I wouldn't.
about Terry going crazy.
Huh?
Didn't even think about Terry going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's all. That's honestly, the only reason I even looked at it and thought about it was in case Jamie was out. Stuff talked about, but I wouldn't kill yourself for that. Like I said, it's a lot of coaches that I don't.
Yeah. I usually end up pulling it since he sends it just so that team player.
Yeah.
But yeah, I assume we're gonna have to get some point, but we're just generically saying, just listen to win, but we don't have any specifically yet.
6:36 on a Monday morning as we get you up, get you out the door. If you're listening somewhere on the Gulf Coast of Florida this morning, brace yourself. As Jen was saying there in the weather report, looks like a hurricane could be moving in, and potentially, if you follow the weather pattern and look at the path, it might be heading up this way late toward this weekend. So that could give us something to watch late in the week as it pertains to South Carolina and South Carolina State. We'll keep an eye on that throughout the morning. But focusing on what occurred this past weekend, South Carolina with the victory over Charlotte 56-20. Again, the highlight of the performance was Marshawn Lloyd, and here is his third touchdown run of the night, a 3-touchdown performance, and this one, his third touchdown run, the call from Todd Ellis and Tommy Suggs.
Trailing ball tipped up in the air. It's picked off. Brent Johnson. The Gamecocks down the far sideline. The linebackers knocked out of bounds. It looks like around the 2 or 3 yard line. Right side at the 5. Turning into the end zone. Give him 3. 3 on the night. Touchdown Carolina. Touchdown Marshawn Lloyd. This one from 8 yards out. The extra point could make it 35-14.
That was the interception that led to the Marshawn Lloyd touchdown, and then the third touchdown of the night. As the previous caller who just called and said, yeah, it's Charlotte. Their defense is bad, and I'm not sure what you take away that you say, okay, now I feel good about Kentucky, or now I feel better about Texas A&M, or oh boy, look out Tennessee, we're running the ball. But one thing you do take away from this, and the one thing I disagree with the previous phone call, you do give Marshawn Lloyd a pat on the back. Dude,
no kidding.
That young man, and it doesn't have to necessarily be because of just the bad defense of Charlotte. Marshawn Lloyd has done everything you would ask a student athlete to do here. You remember he actually committed to Thomas Brown, the running back coach. I don't know, 3-4 running back coaches ago, it feels like at this point. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that, these kids, South Carolina's a nice school. I think it's across the board when kids commit. Schools are nice, but they commit to coaches. They commit to relationships with their position coach, with the head coach, and so forth and so on. And, Marshawn Lloyd is a guy, again, who committed to a running back coach who he didn't even get to play for. He obviously has the knee injury, and we barely see him, and he tries to come back. And, man, it's been a wild ride for that young man. And that was the fun part about Saturday night, is to finally see him given the ball and give the chance to show his ability. And South Carolina has a stud running back. He is a stud running back. I'm not saying that because of one performance against Charlotte. He's shown me enough that if Marcus Satterfield and Shane Beamer and the offense will dedicate that should be the identity. Okay, that should be, South Carolina should be a run first, follow the lead of number one offense. That's what you do. You give the ball to that young man. And again, hurdling a player is neat and cool and all that. Be careful. Don't do that against like Kentucky or A&M or, any you won't be playing much longer if you do that. You're going to get upended. But give a lot of credit to, and give a pat on the back to Marshawn Lloyd. Everything coming back from the knee injury, he has done everything you'd ask of him. He doesn't create issues off the field. He goes about his own business, and the kid's got a ton of skill. I mean, he has got a ton of skill, and there's absolutely zero reason South Carolina should not lean on him to win ball games in the SEC. And he should have a good weekend this weekend. You feed him the ball against South Carolina State and let him have another 100-yard game. Get that confidence up. Get confident. Get your offensive line to have confidence in themselves. And when South Carolina goes to Kentucky, and we'll find out today, or we should find out today, what time that game will be in 2 weeks. You go in with the identity of it's not Spencer Rattler's offense. It's Marshawn Lloyd's offense. You give him the ball. And that's all that's the one thing I take. Lloyd, when given opportunities, has looked good against Arkansas. He's looked good against Georgia. He doesn't get enough opportunities, but that's what you take away. That's the only thing you take away offensively from Saturday night. I really don't care that South Carolina didn't score. I saw some people making a big deal. Oh, we didn't score on the opening. We didn't score a touchdown on the opening possession. There was kind of in my opinion, a dumb play call. You tried to go play action pass instead of just running the ball from the 2. Give the ball to Lloyd. Lloyd should have scored on that possession. Should have given him the ball. I don't really care about not scoring a touchdown on the opening drive. It was a long drive, and then Charlotte had the ball for 7 minutes, and South Carolina scored 8 seconds into the second quarter. So that doesn't really bother me. But the one thing I do take away from Saturday night is Marshawn Lloyd finally got the chance to shine, and he did. But B, the identity of this football team should be run first, and it should be on the shoulders of number 1. Give Lloyd the ball. If he doesn't have 15 to 20 carries in each and every game, it's an absolute failure. Absolute failure. 803-404-6100. Back out to the Love Chevy phone lines we go. Todd wants to weigh in this morning. Todd, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, fellas.
Morning.
And ladies.
Yeah.
Hey, I was disappointed that they didn't score on the opening drive because that's what happens in SEC competition. They get down. They let Charlotte hang around for almost half of the game. You can't do that against SEC competition. And, yeah, Lloyd looked good. It was against Charlotte. The offense needs to find its identity. When Lloyd running doesn't work, Rattler's got to be able to make plays. Those receivers have to step up. That offensive coordinator's got to figure this thing out and quick because, we're going to roll next week, going to beat South Carolina State, probably close to the same score. But again, you go to Kentucky, a top 10 team, if you ain't got it together, it's not going to be a good outcome.
No, I agree with you, Todd. I mean, look, again, and as many of you are saying, I think it's good. A lot of you understand where South Carolina is. Charlotte's not a good football team, but South Carolina also dispatched Charlotte like they should. All right, the defense struggled early on. They made some adjustments. There was an injury, I think, that factored into it with Chris Reynolds going down right before half. But even under Steve Spurrier, South Carolina didn't exactly go out and start throwing up 50-point games here and there. I think, correct me if I put this stat. I don't think I tweeted it. I was late on Saturday night. But I think it's the first time South Carolina's hit the 50s since 2012, I believe. I'll go back and confirm this. I believe it was the Arkansas game when South Carolina went out to Fayetteville and beat Arkansas 52-7 or 52-3 that South Carolina scored 50. There is something to be said for that because there's a lot of times I remember during the Steve Spurrier era that you would want blood. You'd want Spurrier to go out and do his typical thing where he ran the score up and whipped whatever hopeless opponent had showed up to Williams-Brice Stadium, and a lot of times it just wouldn't happen. So I do give credit where credit's due. South Carolina was supposed to whip. South Carolina was supposed to win that game. They were supposed to win by 23.5, and they did do that. They won by 36. That's what they're supposed to do. And they'll be favored again this week by 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, and they'll be expected to do that again, but it builds confidence. And again, the biggest thing I take away is that you finally gave Marshawn Lloyd the ball. And yes, even though it's a bad defense, he showed that against a bad defense, he could run the football. And he's at least shown when given opportunities against Arkansas, Georgia, that he can run the football. He's got to protect the football. That's a big issue. 803-404-6100. You're listening to Bill Gunner and Jen Jensen. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
The Halftime Show with Jay, Terry, and Tommy.
Anybody where you think under the age of 35 doesn't understand the concept of sitting in a restaurant with clouds of smoke coming around your head.
Dude.
Or remember the airplane?
I remember
told me those stories all the time.
I remember one time on an airplane, and there was the sign, like there was the line on the plane. It's a plane.
Mm-hmm.
There's no barrier. There was just like, from this point forward, it's the smoking section. I was like, oh, well, good. Well, you're sitting right behind that guy. Oh, no, you're fine.
I think I told you and Ryan Brewer the other day when we were talking. I think it was last week. At my high school,
yeah, you had a smoking.
There was a smoking
area
section outside, and teachers and 18-year-old students. Like, let's face it, in my high school, there were 25-year-old ninth graders because it's Baltimore. And you got these guys, they got their kids with them. They take their kids to school with them in high school.
You take your kid to
You
school
take your
day.
school day for the students, not for the kids.
2 to 3.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Feeling good, feeling healthy, getting out. Maybe just taking a walk with your significant other. The weather's starting to turn a little bit. You want to get out in the evening after you've had a nice dinner and you want to take a walk, enjoy time together, hold hands, talk a little about your day, all those neat things that people do. Well, if you've got joint pain, if you're not able to get outside and take that walk, if you're not able to get out and throw the football with the kids or shoot some hoops in the driveway, it's time to call QC Kinetics. If you've been suffering from joint pain, don't allow it to affect your life any longer. Call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and most importantly, no surgery. Sometimes you go visit a doctor and they say, "Oh, we gotta operate on you a little bit. We're gonna make you better, but we gotta operate." With QC Kinetics, you don't have to worry about the surgery. That's right. They use highly concentrated healing properties from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. It's really high cutting edge stuff. Quite frankly, as a sports talk radio show host, I don't completely understand it, but you can find out for yourself. 803-281-6860. Call them for a free consultation. You can get in, you can talk to them. They'll explain everything to you, and they'll get you back to living the lifestyle that you need to live, that you deserve to have, that you enjoy living. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. That's QC Kinetics.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
Still working an earlier deer crash at Richland Boulevard at Bluff Road. And we have a report of an accident, Broad River Road.
You're right. I should have said that. Against an FCS opponent or FBS opponent. FBS. I'm sorry. You're right. They put up 72 against Charleston Southern. I should have been clearer about that. That was the stat. That's 72. Yeah.
One blowout was in 2019 against Charleston Southern, 72-10.
Yeah, I meant to be clear about that. I'll bring it back up. I meant to say FBS opponent. I should point that out. That's an FCS opponent. Yeah. 3 points. That was my stat. I knew I had. I was just off this week. I was trying to bring the set out. Go back to all my little notes. Good people are listening.
Exactly. Perfectly enough.
Yep.
So, among many drivers, I am sure, but Denny Hamlin not happy. Now, if we could just, when he's tweeting out, if we could teach him how to properly use and spell your when you're talking you are.
Well, it's difficult for everybody.
I know. Then just that's like nails on a chalkboard. But yeah, tire issues galore last night. Kyle Busch is probably ready to pound somebody because he went out.
Tyler Reddick gets the victory, huh?
Yep. Yeah, Chase Elliott was out. No fault of his own, I don't believe. Reggie had Logano, and Logano came in second.
Do it all online. No in-person appointments. Get hard results with HIMS for your money back. Go to forhims.com/radio to get your first visit free. That's forhims.com.
Yeah, I'm going back. It was the most points by a South Carolina team since against an FBS opponent since 49 against Coastal Carolina. But and I think I'm right on that. Oh, Jen muted. I wonder what happened. Jen muted herself.
I did because I was editing your QC Kinetics.
Ah, very smart.
Well, cutting it to send to the client.
Gotcha.
Eight zero 803-404-6100. I apologize. That stat that I was referencing, yeah, it was against FBS opponents. I should have been clearer. Look, man, it's early on a Monday morning, and I had a big weekend, but it was mostly a soccer-filled weekend. By the way, South Carolina men's soccer team wins over the weekend, 1-0, knocks off Georgia Southern. They will play. They will travel to West Virginia this coming weekend to take on the Mountaineers up there. But a good win for Tony Annan's ball club as they defeat Georgia Southern. He'll be in with us on Wednesday morning, as he is each and every week. But to go back to that point, yeah, this was the most points scored against an FBS opponent since a 52-7 victory on October 12th of 2013. South Carolina putting up 52 in that game, and the thumping of Arkansas out in Fayetteville. So there is something to be said about that. They did score, as many of you pointed out. A couple of you, Zach RL, on the live stream pointing out they scored 72 against Charleston Southern in 2019. That was the Ryan Holinsky debut. 803-404-6100. How you can be a part of the program. As always, you can go to our live stream. Go to youtube.com. Search 1075 The Game. Click join, subscribe. Be a part of the program where Larry, Zach, RL, Chuck, Ray, Tommy, Craig, they're all in there, and they're talking about different stuff. You can go and do that as well. Out to the Love Chevy phone lines we go, though. Gary wants to weigh in this morning. Gary, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, morning, guys. I think, we as fans, we need to calm down just a little bit. Like, these games are confidence builders for a reason. You might see something in this game that you weren't necessarily comprehending in other games, and we got to take that into account too. Like these guys, I mean, they are kids at the end of the day. 17, not 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. Sometimes we put a lot on them, for our entertainment. So it's like, let's back up off of these kids a little bit. There are things in the Charlotte game that they will take to the South Carolina State game, that they'll take to the Kentucky game, and so on and so forth. They did to Charlotte what we wanted them to do to Georgia State, and but that didn't happen. It was the first game. You got a lot of parts going together. It takes time to build something. Like you said earlier, let's not forget what Steve Spurrier had to go through for a little while before we ended up getting those type of games, those type of routes to beating like a 52-7. We just need to calm down a little bit. Let the coaches coach, fans be fans. Let's enjoy these guys while we got them. Because we don't get talent like this every day. I'm pretty sure Spencer will get it together, but that's something he and Marcus Satterfield have to do. Let's just tone it down a bit. Thanks for the call, guys.
Thank you for the phone call, Gary. 803-404-6100. How you can weigh in this morning if you choose to do so. So South Carolina 56-20. Most of that coming with a 22-point third quarter. The Gamecocks were up 20-14 there at halftime and put up 22 points in the third quarter. A lot of that aided. Should be pointed out, a lot of that was aided by turnovers. The South Carolina defense had struggled throughout the season so far through 3 games to force turnovers, but they were able to do that, and that allowed South Carolina to get some easy scores on the night. Didn't have to drive all that far in the second half. 5 plays, 33 yards, ended with a Christian Beal touchdown. 2 plays, 7 yards, ended with a Marshawn Lloyd touchdown. Again, there was another short touchdown that South Carolina was able to get. 3 plays, 5 yards. You kind of get the point. Gamecocks fairly solid night all the way around. And then, of course, the final touchdown pass to Corey Rutker, 52 yards from Luke Doty. But a couple very short drives there that the Gamecocks were able to take advantage and put up some points up. We'll continue talking about that this morning. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100 is how you can do so. Jamie Bradford coming up next. We'll get his take on what he saw Saturday night and his thoughts on the weekend as a whole. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, Jamie Bradford up next. It's the early game, 107.5 The Game.
Gamecocks, Braves, the NFL with live local radio. 107.5.
All right. Interesting text messages and phone calls. Good Lord.
Come on, we're gonna be late to the cookout. I was just packing up my famous mac and cheese. I hope you packed the pesto too. Still doesn't have about fast relief from heartburn anymore.
Oh, God. Stretch.
I should probably pack an extra shirt. Good call. When you have indigestion, diarrhea, Pepto-Bismol. Use this directly to keep out of reach of children.
The best part about taking Z-Cool Pure Z Sleep Plus Next Day Energy at night is actually the next morning. I wake up alert with none of the grogginess from taking too much melatonin. Pure Z Sleep Plus Next Day Energy is a bi-layer tablet with immediate release melatonin and extended release B vitamins to help you fall asleep naturally and wake refreshed. It's my secret weapon for a great night's sleep.
Oh, yeah. What's wrong with this television?
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider to determine if prescriptions are appropriate prescriptions.
Oh.
Guys, want an effective, affordable way to get ED medication 100% online?
Ooh.
Whether you're looking for Viagra or Cialis, or generic medications as effective as Viagra, but 90% cheaper, you can find it all through HIMS. HIMS is your go-to for doctor-trusted treatments to help you treat ED. Get ED treatment for as low as $3 per use and save up to $1,000 per month with generic for Viagra versus the brand name at 4hims.com/radio. If prescribed, your medication will be shipped to your door in discreet packaging. Do it all online. No in-person appointments. Get hard results with HIMS or your money back. Go to 4hims.com/radio to get your first visit free. That's 4hims.com/radio to get started free. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
I think I've got another really good stat. Let me confirm it.
Chevrolet. We will never charge you above MSRP or take advantage of your add-ons. I-26 Harvest and lovechevy.com. Find new roads. Free Action Monday. Feel free to let it loose. Have thoughts about the game? Call or text us at 404-6100 or hit us up on Twitter at 1075 The Game. On your home of the Gamecocks. Your home of the Gamecocks. 1075 The Game. The early game with Bill Gunner. I think I've got you set up over there, Coach. You might have some headphones, you might not. I'm real sure. Apologize.
Making do some work, is that what you're saying?
I am trying to fight this iPad so we can put them on the live stream as well. But
Basically, well-oiled machine.
Dominated me this morning. Like, it has been a beating at the hands of this iPad. We'll see if I got it fixed there.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
Today's phrase of the day is, I have no clue.
107.5.
If you say, I have no clue, this means I don't know. In fact, I don't even have any idea.
The Game.
7:01 on a Monday morning. Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, soon to be joined by Jamie Bradford in just a second. Here's your statistic of the weekend. Stat of the weekend. In case you didn't see it, Middle Tennessee State, or whatever we're calling them, I don't know, the Blue Raiders, went down to Miami Gardens, I guess, Coral Gables, went down to Fort Lauderdale where they have the stadium, and knocked off the U 45-31. Middle Tennessee is now 3-0 all-time against the U. That's right. Their win streak still intact. Middle Tennessee has never lost to the University of Miami in the game of football. Of course, two of those wins came back in November of 1931 and November of 1932. But to this day, the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee can brag that they are undefeated, 3-0 all-time against the University of Miami. So if you want to call and complain this morning that the offense didn't do enough, that the running game should have done that, always remember the U. Where's our guy? I think it was Ty, my man Ty, the Miami fan. I think the last time South Carolina and Middle Tennessee played, the Gamecocks won. Miami fans don't have the luxury of bragging about a victory over Middle Tennessee. 803-404-6100. I liked my guy Ty when he called in last week, though, the Miami fan. Out to the Love Chevy phone lines we go to be joined by our good buddy Jamie Bradford, who joins us each and every week. He's playing a little under the weather this morning, so if you fall out, that one's on you. You're participating, though, and glad to have you after what was really overall another interesting weekend. Clemson survives. Oklahoma goes down. Kentucky continues to look really good. Michigan gets by Maryland. Overall, a solid weekend of college football.
Well, good morning. Is this the first time in my life I get to compare myself to Michael Jordan?
Yes.
Can we go that far?
Yeah, I mean, if you never had the jump shot like MJ, I understand, but that would have probably been where I started, just lied and made people find old video of you. But if you want to just go with playing sick, I totally understand.
No, dude. Hey, look, man, I've been teaching these kids to play basketball in their little goal out there. I look like MJ on that thing. But it's this has been a rough 24 hours or so with this, whatever the hell this thing is. But I'm glad to be. Hey, is Rick Stockstill still the head coach at MTSU?
He is. Yeah. Old Stockstill's just hanging around up there.
Man, there's a bunch of Gamecocks up there because you got Stock, and then on the baseball side, now Jerry's taking over for Coach Toman. And somebody else is up there. I'm trying to remember who it is. But somebody.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of connections in Middle Tennessee. And by the way, the last time we played Miami, we beat them too.
That's right.
In the bowl game.
Take that, Miami. Yeah.
So yeah, man, good to be with you. Good win for the Gamecocks this weekend. They, for the most part, did what they, I think what everybody really wanted to see them do: beat the crap out of somebody for once. My cousin was sitting there as the game I think there's 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, look, it wasn't all perfect tonight. Never is, never going to be, but it sure is nice to be able to sit here with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter in this ballpark that we only get to come to 7 times a year, and just not have anything to worry about." I mean, we could sit here and talk about whatever we want to talk about because literally we're just waiting on the clock to go to 0. That's a good feeling to have that every once in a while. So good win for Carolina. And now they're probably going to have 4 rain-soaked quarters to try to capitalize on that this weekend.
Yeah, look, good or bad, I don't know if how we've arrived at the end of 16 quarters of football. I don't know after 4 games if this is what people expected, but record-wise, I think it's where the majority of people thought we would be at 2-2. They thought South Carolina would be here. Again, how South Carolina's arrived here, some ups and downs. The offensive line didn't perform very well in the first game, but I'll say the offensive line seems to be getting better. I really do. The more I watch, and again, Jamie, we just talked about this. Charlotte is not good. Okay, their defense is bad. But the more I've watched now, South Carolina's gone from quarter 1 against Georgia State to quarter 4 or quarter 16, I guess you would say, at the end of the Charlotte game. And this is not a criticism, mind you, of Shane Beamer. I'm comparing it to Steve Spurrier. And Jamie, you know a lot of people, you've talked about it. And I think a lot of people say that fall camp, preseason camp with Steve Spurrier was always kind of light to avoid the injuries. They weren't maybe as physical as they should have been. I wonder now as this team moves forward, the offensive line is getting to hit people every week. It's the contests are becoming more physical. And to play Arkansas and Georgia, you better be physical early on. They did at least look more physical on Saturday night against Charlotte. That's another thing. Look, it's easy. We haven't always seen them do that. I'm willing to take that away and go, okay, I did see some strides there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they did, and you're right. I mean, look, Charlotte defensively is terrible. I mean, they're awful. I mean, go look at every game they play; they're bad. That's true. You know, the flip side of that coin is, you know, we got to come up with a new system or plan because we can't be waiting until games 3 and 4 every year for this offensive line to figure itself out. That's you know, ridiculous. You're not implying that, I know that, but that would be ridiculous if that's what it takes for a group of guys to kind of, you know, the most important group on the team, pretty much, to try to figure it out. So, but yeah, overall, look, you know, full disclosure, I did not go back and watch the game yesterday because I just didn't have it in me. So I plan on trying to do that, you know, over the next day or two and kind of look at them again. But if you kind of watched it on Saturday night, there was I'm not gonna talk about it from a physicality standpoint, more of like an assignment standpoint. Like you did see things that you didn't see in the first couple of games, you know, as far as guys getting to their man. You know, you got pulling guards left and right and things of that nature where you got to get somebody outside. And if you don't get him there, the whole play blows up. And you did get a lot of that. Now, is that on us or is that on Charlotte? I don't know. But at the end of the day, they did it. So that's good. And then, you know, I think I texted you last night, you know, I was more impressed with the players than the playbook. I mean, Marshawn Lloyd speaks for himself. And then just pretty much everybody that you saw on Saturday night, he was able to get the football. You know, they played hard. They played well. Maybe it was a game of confidence that kind of changed that for them. So overall, hey man, 36-point win is a 36-point win, and you got to be happy.
Yeah, confidence. That's going to be the biggest thing moving forward. And you just mentioned it. You kind of hope that the conditions aren't too awful on Saturday. We'll see what happens with this. I think, is it still Jen? You were doing the weather report. Is it still a tropical storm that's expected to develop into a hurricane, or is the latest update it has developed into a hurricane?
I did not see for sure. I am sorry.
Is it, Jamie? Is it developed in? I know it's expected to be a hurricane. I didn't know if it was as we sit here at 7:09 a.m. on a Monday morning. We're a sports talk show, not a weather reporting show. But I guess I could look. I could stop relying on other people.
I think it's a hurricane now.
Okay. Yeah. Right, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, if this thing ends up turning, which I think it's actually going to come up more towards the Panhandle, but if it ends up turning towards Tampa, I could just see my man Steven Garcia on the top of a shrimp boat, just like Lieutenant Dan. Yeah. So that's a conversation for another day.
It does seem something likely that he would do. Yeah, it strengthens into a hurricane. Okay, there's your.
It is.
Yeah, there's a good. It took 3 of us to figure out whether the storm's a hurricane or not. That's the kind of quality radio we bring to you each and every morning. But going back, that is the one thing that I talk about this weekend. Whatever the weather is, Jamie, is continuing to build confidence and really honestly getting past those 2 losses to Arkansas and Georgia and remembering all the stuff you worked on during the summer, or go back to the winter workouts, the summer workouts, all those early mornings, and believing in yourself again. And that is, again, something that South Carolina can build off of when they go to play what will likely be. Now, by the way, I mentioned this earlier, North Carolina State and Clemson is going to be really good this weekend. They game up at Memorial Stadium. Game day will be there. But at noon on Saturday, Mississippi and Kentucky play, and that one's going to be a really good one as well. Number 14 versus number 7. If Kentucky wins that, depending on how things shake out, Jamie, Kentucky could be top 5 when South Carolina goes up there to Lexington next week.
Yep. I mean, is this not unbelievable? Let me think about this for a second. This is why it's so important. It is unbelievably important to make sure that you do everything you can to elevate your football program at all times in the SEC, Bill. At all times. Like, you can't have off weeks. You can't have rebuilding years anymore. Like, you just can't do it. You can't have again, I'm going to say this again. I'm not trying to call anybody out, but you can't have systems that take 3, 4, and 5 games for it to quote unquote come together. I mean, because just look at the schedule. South Carolina went to Arkansas this year. Look what they've turned into. We know what Georgia was. Now you just mentioned Kentucky, a potential top 5 football team on October the 8th. Is A&M kind of finally starting to put it back together? We know they're talented. They beat Arkansas this weekend. And then on down the line, look how good Tennessee has gotten. Look at Florida. We know Florida's got talent. Florida's not Florida of old, but they are capable of certainly putting things together. And by the time you head to the Swamp in November, they look spectacular. I mean, the SEC is ruthless. There's no league like it. None. There just isn't. It's totally different. It's a different animal. And so, like, this, you just don't have what you used to have, where it's, hey man, you get a new coach, a new system, 3, 4, 5 years rebuilding, whatever it was. I mean, I assure you, if Steve Spurrier took over 2 years 2 years ago, as opposed to back in 2005, he would have to hit the accelerator a little bit, because while we were able to kind of build under Coach Spurrier, in the league was good then. Kentucky wasn't. Like, there was Arkansas at times was good, kind of like they are now. Of course, back then they had Jerry McFadden and Felix Jones too. But it's just a different league, and with college football and how it's changed so much, and the fact that you don't have to rebuild anymore. You reload now, Bill. Remember when Coach Tanner said that back in the early 2000s about his baseball program? He said, in South Carolina, we don't rebuild, we reload. And back then, what he meant was we just sign talented players, and then we go the JUCO route and we plug in the holes. Well, that's exactly what college football is now, except it's not necessarily the JUCO route anymore. It's transfer portal. So, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, this game this weekend, like, for people who are just in this for the entertainment side of things, like, oh, it's only South Carolina State, do everything you can to put your football hat on, because you want to watch very closely for 4 quarters, because after that, you've got season deciding type football games for the Gamecocks. 3-4 weeks in a row outside of that off week of what happens in those games is going to tell you basically at the end of the season whether you're bowling or not.
Yeah, it's again, and that's why I say you take this weekend, you enjoy it. You kind of mentioned it. You could sit there in the fourth quarter and you could pull out the roster sheet and look for different numbers. Brian Thomas Jr. was out there a little bit, was having to figure out his number 70. By the way, I never figured out who 70, I think it was 72 on the defensive line was, not on the roster. And I think it was a guy from down in your area, Demetrius Smalls from Fort Dorchester. I didn't have binoculars. I couldn't see the back of the jersey, but was trying to study that. But it was neat to see younger players get out there. And that is also how you develop talent, develop players, is you blow somebody out and you let younger guys go. Luke Doty being able to throw a touchdown pass was nice. Seeing Corey Rucker out there. Rashad Amos gets his carry, but unfortunately fumbles for what could have been a touchdown that would put South Carolina into the 60s, which, again, very rarely happens. I've pointed out, Jamie, first time since 2013 South Carolina scores 50 or more points against an FBS opponent. Obviously, the Charleston Southern game back in 2019, they went for 72. That was FCS. So we'll continue talking about this. Get your take. It was an interesting week of football. Brian Harsin gets to coach another week because Missouri decided to fumble going into the end zone. Brent Venables in Oklahoma go down. Georgia sleptwalk through a game. There was a lot that happened, and you heard me mention that Miami score. Remember, it could always be worse. It could always be a lot worse if you lose those games. So we'll talk about the college football schedule as a whole. He's Jamie Bradford. I'm Bill Gunner. She's Jen Jensen. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Your point with Pearson, Preston,
and the guys from Gamecock Central.
If they don't score a touchdown in the first quarter against this defense, then it's definitely a me problem. It's not me, it's you. Like, it's definitely me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an execution issue.
Is there a number that if South Carolina hits it, you will say, even though that was Charlotte, I think things have been at least a little bit fixed? If they score 77 points, a touchdown on all 11 possessions, they pull a Bills and they never bring Kai Kroger out on the field.
I think you could say better, right? Like, because you would go, okay, this is presumably there would be a lot of good things that happen in the game.
Get the point? The extra point.
You heard us talking about the storm coming up that could create mud. Your kids usually walk through mud. Then they come in your house. Then they mess up your tiles or your rugs or your carpet. They roll around on the upholstery. And the next thing you know, the whole house is dirty. All because the storm was coming and your kids, well, they don't really care if your house is clean or not. They're not you. They're perfectly happy with whatever the house looks like. You, on the other hand, probably feel a little bit differently. You like a good, clean home. At least I do. That's why I rely upon Zero Res. With over 1,800 Google reviews and a 4.9 star rating, Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning is the most highly reviewed cleaning company in the Midlands. And their patented no residue ZR water technology gets your carpets, your rugs, your upholstery all insanely clean and keeps it cleaner longer. Good news for you. There's a sale going on. That's the fall sale. Right now, you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. 803-262-4020. You can schedule with ease online, ZeroResColumbia.com. It is the fall sale going on. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. You just need to remember to mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. If you do that, you can get those great Zero Res folks out to your home, get the carpets, the rugs, the tile, the upholstery, all looking cleaner, longer, make it nicer in the home. And then the kids come back in with their dirty shoes and spilling stuff on you. You get the point. It's annoying, but hey, they're kids. You love them. Keep the house clean, though, right, kids? Keep your parents' house clean. Maybe you can even call Zero Res today. 803-262-4020. Again, right now, 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. Just mention me, Bill Gunner at Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game. 803-262-4020 or schedule with ease online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com.
No major slowdowns right now, and just have a disabled vehicle to keep an eye out for, and that's I-126 eastbound at Greystone Boulevard. And your forecast for today, mostly sunny, 87 for the high, 81 tomorrow. We get into the low to mid 70s on Wednesday and Thursday, and then, of course, Hurricane Ian. We're going to see what that does and how that impacts the Midlands. But right now, we're looking at 65 at 107.5 The Game.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute. There are now 3 unbeaten teams in the NFL, and would you believe they're the 3-0 Dolphins and Eagles and the 2-0 Giants who host Dallas tonight. How about the Jags thrashing of the Chargers on the road, or Matt Ryan rallying the Colts past the Chiefs? Elsewhere, Carolina and Cincinnati finally got off the schneid, as they say. I'm Boomer Esiason.
I had a nighttime routine for my frequent heartburn. I would drink milk, I would sleep upright with more pillows, but that painful burning stayed. So I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine. With just 1 pill in the morning, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production, blocking heartburn day and night. Now I have a new nighttime routine. I call it sleeping.
1 pill, 24 hours, 0 heartburn. With Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
The new era of Thursday Night Football is here, and it's only on Prime Video. This Thursday, 2 of the NFL's biggest talents face off when Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins head to Cincinnati to take on Joe Burrow and the defending AFC champion Bengals. Pre-game coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with TNF Tonight, delivered by Little Caesars. Not an Amazon Prime member? Sign up for a 30-day free trial to stream the game. It's the Dolphins and the Bengals, only on Prime Video. See Amazon.com/watchtnf for details.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. Feeling like $1 million? If so, the new $10 scratch-off ticket, The Million, is the game for you. Players can win $1 million on the ticket and enter any non-winning tickets into the second chance promotion for another chance to win $1 million. See SCEducationLottery.com for game odds and details.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we've seen how terrible accidents turn lives upside down, and we're proud to be the lawyers our clients depend on during their toughest moments. I'm Jason Reynolds. Call me when your family is faced with any serious injury or death.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When you're hurt at work,
I go to work getting you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on. We have the experience and passion you need when you need it most.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 779-4000.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer and all-time leading rusher with exciting news.
If you suffer from chronic joint pain, Emmitt Smith wants to introduce you to QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in biologic treatment for pain. I'm talking regenerative solutions that encourage your body to heal and repair itself. No medications, no surgeries, no downtime.
If you have pain in your knees, hips, lower back, and shoulders, don't assume the old treatments are the only treatments. Learn more about how you can get lasting relief with biologic treatments that can repair and restore damaged tissue.
Call to learn more about this exciting natural way to deal with chronic joint pain. Play golf without pain, walk upstairs without pain, play with your kids and grandkids without pain. Get back on your job without pain. Live your life pain-free. Call QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860. 803-281-6860.
Are you ready for a new car? State Credit Union now has excellent rates on new and used vehicles. And you'll enjoy having no car payments for up to 90 days. Not a member of State Credit Union yet? Joining is fast and easy. Visit their website for details, scscu.com. That's scscu.com. In the market for an electric vehicle? Ask about additional funds for the purchase and installation of a charging station. Terms and conditions apply. Rates, conditions, and programs subject to change without notice. Equal housing lender. State Credit Union is federally insured by the NCUA.
Titus and Tate, a podcast from two obsessed basketball lovers.
Donovan Mitchell is going to the Cavs. The Cavs have basically given the Jazz everything. I need you to explain this to me. Anytime a trade is one guy for like 38 things, my brain is too stupid to like figure out who won.
I will say, you don't want to be in a lose-lose trade, and I do think it could be a win-win, so we'll talk.
Whoa.
The Titus and Tate podcast, wherever you listen.
This update is sponsored by AAA Heating and Air, home of the $1,500 buyback. AAA Heating and Air must clear out its warehouse before new government efficiency regulations go into effect in 2023. No deals will be turned down. Call today to get a new unit tomorrow. 803-677-1500.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
On November 10th, 1984, the eyes of the nation were on Williams-Brice Stadium. ABC's Keith Jackson and Frank Broyles were in town to call undefeated number 5 South Carolina, hosting the number 11 Florida State Seminoles. As it turned out, Black Magic won out for the 9th straight week. Carolina rolled up a 38-7 lead and won it in the end, 38-26. Let's hear from Coach Joe Morrison following the game.
Well, it was a good win for us, and I'm so proud of our young men. I thought they played well. They got themselves physically and emotionally and mentally ready to play the ball game. And I guess one area that we were very concerned about going into the football game was that of our special teams. And they just did a super job in the evening. And we kind of thought that we told them at halftime, as a matter of fact, that that could be the turning point in the ball game. But little did we know that it was going to happen so quickly. But that second half kickoff return, I thought, played a very, very important role in the ball game.
And that's our old-timey clip of the day, sponsored by Old Timey Meat Market with 3 locations, Lexington, South Congaree, and St. Andrews Road in Irma.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios, this is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Game
with Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen
on your home of the Gamecocks.
The Early Game, 107.5
The
game. Make sure you continue to listen all week, as we'll give you a chance to win tickets to Saturday night's Gamecock football. Not Saturday night. I'm reading. Basically, I'm Ron Burgundy. I could just read whatever Jen hands me. Saturday at noon. Yeah.
You've been caught.
Basically, I read whatever you give me. I have such faith in my producer that just whatever she gives me, I could read. So clearly,
this could get really, really fun.
Yep. I got to be careful about that. All right, let's start all over
pretty
again.
Girl.
Let's start all over again. Listen all week for a chance to win tickets to Saturday's Gamecock football game against South Carolina State from Carolina Honda Powerhouse. Carolina Honda Powerhouse, your source for Honda Power Sports. visit CarolinaHonda.com. Again, we'll give you a chance to win tickets all week, so continue to listen to us right here on the early game for your chance to win tickets to Saturday afternoon, a 12 noon kick start time against South Carolina State from Carolina Honda Powerhouse. Carolina Honda Powerhouse, your source for Honda Power Sports. And again, visit them on the web, CarolinaHonda.com. Jamie, good help is hard to find, as you just learned right there, as I will just read whatever Jen hands me.
Yeah, quality broadcasters are hard to find.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Reading is hard
We're
also.
all right. Yeah, that's right. Everybody here has a good point.
Clearly, he's married.
Yes. Exactly.
Married and wants to stay married. If I understood that answer correctly.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
This weekend, really, really interesting. You go back. The Georgia game obviously was a lot closer than expected, but they win, so no real big deal there. But you start looking around, Jamie, and as now we get a little bit into the season here, we see how things are going. To me, it's pretty simple. Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. Ohio State just bludgeons Wisconsin on Saturday night, 52-21. I think I saw it was the first time since 2014 that Wisconsin had given up 50 points in a ball game. Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, to me, have separated themselves. Michigan, I kind of had that. It was getting closer to that category last week. They struggle a little bit with Maryland. How do you have your top four, your top five, maybe what you would label as your college football playoff lined up right now?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's Georgia. I think it's Alabama, and I think it's Ohio State. Probably maybe a little biased toward the SEC. I just like Georgia and Alabama better, but then again, I've also seen them more than I've seen Ohio State. But I've got those as my top three. I know that, and that's the big question. Like, who do you slip in there at number four? Let me start backwards before we get to like Clemson and Michigan. I'm still not totally buying Southern Cal. I had not bought into Oklahoma just yet, just because some of it's because of Brent Venables just being a new head coach. You know what I mean? Like, I just felt like we got to give this thing a little bit more time before we kind of figure it out. Southern Cal obviously kind of has a similar issue, even though Lincoln Riley is one of the best in the country, but not totally bought into them. They survived Saturday night up there at Oregon State. I actually thought the Beavers would pull the upset there, and they didn't, but they only lost by 3. And then if you look at 4 and 5, is Clemson a top 4 team? I don't think they are. Is Michigan a top 4 team? I don't think they are. I almost think we should go to 3 and then stop and restart this thing around 6 or 7. But if I had to plug somebody in at 4, just based on resume, I hate to say it, but I would plug in Clemson because their resume is better than Michigan's.
As you're talking, I'm looking down my list here, or I'm looking at the games of the top 25, and I'm trying to figure out where I draw the second tier, because I think what you just said, you went to 6. Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, again, yes, have separated themselves. Michigan, Clemson, I'm with you on Oklahoma. I just wasn't something, I don't know. I just want to see more from Brent Venables, like more games, just get a feel for who he is as a head coach.
Right.
Dylan Gabriel threw for 330 this weekend, and they really struggled with Adrian. The first time anybody's ever used the sentence, the other team, they struggled with Adrian Martinez, but that's exactly what happened. But I'm kind of with you. Michigan, Clemson, I guess Oklahoma, even with the loss, Southern Cal, Kentucky. Shoot, Jamie, I think you throw Tennessee into that mix now. North Carolina State, Texas A&M has that one loss, but after they've bounced back with wins over Miami and Arkansas, it feels like after 3, I don't know, there's 10 or 15 teams, and that's what I'm kind of going down the list and going, okay, where do I draw the line? Where does tier 3 start? There's 10 or 15 teams. Maybe the rest of the top 25 is all the same.
Well, and I think, that actually, for people that are only focused on who is going to play in the national championship and who's going to win the national championship, this is the flip side of that, where you talk about college football expanding their playoff. Okay, you're right. The top 3 right now have totally separated themselves, but the rest of it's crapshoot. So if you have a 12-game playoff, eventually you're going to have a probably a bunch of pretty darn good football games in late December, early January. That conversation's for an entire another day. But yeah, I'm with you there. By the way, on Oklahoma, let me point this out real quick. All right, so they lose at home this weekend to Kansas State, right? Well, here's the rest of their games. They got to go to 3-0 TCU this coming Saturday. Okay, so that's a watch out type game, big time for Oklahoma. Then they've got Texas, and then guess who they've got? That all of a sudden this game is unbelievably interesting on October the 15th. Who do you think that is?
Texas.
Big 12.
Texas, right?
No, after Texas.
Oh, after Texas. Iowa State.
What you would have never put this game on your radar until this season now. Kansas.
Oh, I'm still not putting it on the radar.
Kansas.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, I wasn't gonna. I was about to go through
I
every
hear ya.
Big 12 school in the conference and getting Kansas would have still been last.
No, no kidding. But I mean, they are 4-0 and they score a lot of points. And then they got to go to Iowa State, and then they have Baylor. Like this thing, I mean, and not to mention, but after that, at West Virginia, they've got Oklahoma State, and then they got to go to Texas Tech. I mean, who knows? But like, props to the Big 12, by the way. And this sucker could actually really get away from Brent Venables quickly if he's not careful. So we'll kind of see what happens up there. As far as Clemson goes, man, you know, being who we are, you know, wearing the garnet and black, we're in Columbia. Don't want to spend a ton of time talking about them, but you know, how good is the Wake Forest defense, Bill? It's not great, honestly. It's not Charlotte, but it's not really that good. But if Clemson can score offensively, that's a big problem for a lot of people because defensively, we know they're going to bring it. And so far this year, Clemson's put 41, 35, 48, and 51 on the board. So, you know, if their offense gets it figured out, that's a big problem for people. But we'll find out this weekend with that top 10 matchup with NC State.
Yeah, look, again, Clemson's in that grouping that we just said with all those teams. And back to your Oklahoma point, we were saying the same thing 2 weeks ago about Texas A&M. 2 weeks ago we were looking at Texas A&M and saying, boy, there's a good chance they come to Columbia at 2-5, I think 2-4, 2-5. I can't remember exactly their schedule in front of me if they were going to play 6 or 7 games before they get to South Carolina. But yeah, a couple weeks ago we were looking at the Aggies. Well, now I don't know, maybe the Miami win is not quite as impressive all of a sudden as it was a week ago. But you look at Texas A&M, and now for all those people who were ready to write Jimbo Fisher off and say that, you know, oh my goodness, they got to find a way to fire him and move on to the next great thing. All right, well, Texas A&M, it took some mistakes on Arkansas's point or on Arkansas's behalf, a fumble recovery, 97 yards for A&M. I like this. Did you see the tweet? I don't know if you saw the tweet. You saw the field goal by Arkansas, right? Didn't just hit the upright, hit the top of the upright. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy.
So, you know, when the ball hits the upright, people call it a doink. Well, apparently now if it hits the top of the upright, as this one did, they now call it an oink.
Come on.
I don't know if you're laughing out of pity of the joke or if it sunk in. Yeah, it's oink.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
There's your humor. We've given you weather. We've given you humor. We're covering it all. We'll get back. We'll continue on this, just talking about that because you are right. But I want to go back to your college football playoff thing because I'll get back into this. The parity that maybe is in college football, it feels like outside of the top three is an interesting topic to me. We'll get into that a little bit. Continue and get back into that South Carolina game as well. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Our 15th anniversary celebration on 107.5 The Game
is sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, getting you better sooner.
On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game and the new 107.5 The Game app. 107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com.
And taking a look at the traffic conditions out there this morning, we are seeing a disabled vehicle I-20 eastbound at Broad River Road. That's from an earlier accident. We also have a report of a tie-up Trenham Road near Beltline Boulevard and I-26 westbound at Columbia Avenue. That would be exit 91. We have an accident there. And looking for a high today of 87. Temperatures start to drop through the week. 81 tomorrow, 75 on Wednesday. And, of course, all eyes on Hurricane Ian. Right now, 65 at 107.5 The Game.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund.
Yeah, I can't take credit for that. I forget. It was on Twitter. Everything's on Twitter these days. Man, this energy drink, I'm not sure if it is keeping me focused. Support focus. I don't know if it's doing that, and it's definitely not doing the energy thing.
Go to 4hims.com/radio to get your first visit free. That's 4hims.com/radio to get started free. FORHIMS.com/RADIO. Hey, this is Ray Nathan with Pope Davis Tire and Automotive. It's time to kick off football season and time to kick off our fall Michelin special. Hey, Dad, let's sell Michelin's at cost. Customer pays what we pay. Michelin else would never put that. Surprise! That's not a penalty if they don't see it. Any other surprises? Well, I guess I should say thanks for the raise. Oh no, we get a pay cut while we're selling Michelin at cost. What? Michelin tires at cost. Only at Pope Davis Tire and Automotive. Whatever you've got planned today, you cancel it. Another day savings going on now at Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone and GallianaSC.com.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Bama hasn't played anyone. They barely beat us. Richard is. Yeah. T-Paul is a helpy way to Michigan is far better than Clemson. Charlie saying Tennessee would be favored over Clemson or Michigan. Richard, these are on the text. This is my text messages that come in on our little thing here, where he says Bama hasn't played anyone.
If he adds anything else, because I'll look.
What you got there? Oh, we're good.
There's a little bit, a couple of players. Rattler, Gilmer, Brad Johnson.
Okay.
Call right now, get a free estimate. Challenge you. Pioneer Tree Service. You're going to want to call somebody you can trust, and that is the answer at Pioneer Tree Service. Or find us online at pioneertreesc.com. Pioneer Tree Service. Hi, I'm calling. Here's another remarkable success story from QC Kinetics. This one from Chad, who hurt his knee at the gym one day and it just kept on hurting for months. From my high school football and wrestling days, already had a little bit of damage in there, but this just set it over the edge. Chad tried traditional treatments with no improvement. When he turned to the non-surgical regenerative treatments of QC Kinetics, it was really fascinating how they did their work and the science behind it, treating and extracting the cure.
I forgot to mention, Jeff Collins got fired yesterday.
They're fired today, I guess, supposedly.
$7:41 on it's turning out to be a very beautiful Columbia morning. Hope you're up and Adam and doing well. Hopefully your morning is going a lot better, Jamie, than one Jeff Collins, who may not be employed much longer. I don't know what time this special meeting for the Georgia Tech board is scheduled today, but a lot of reports that Jeff Collins will be out here in just a little. I don't know if it's official. I haven't seen. Have you seen an official firing yet, or is that set to be decided today? I know that yesterday, basically, Georgia Tech has a special board meeting today, but I don't know if did Georgia Tech make it official anywhere yesterday.
And I saw that from multiple, like a lot of people had it. I think On3 had it, 24/7 had it. So I'm pretty sure it's official over there now.
Okay. Yeah. Again, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution has reported it, but I was looking to see if there's been an official statement from Georgia Tech. As of last night, I had not seen an official, hey, we appreciate everything Jeff Collins did and we thank him for his time, but we're moving on. I think that'll become, I guess, official day. That's an interesting job. You're from right around here. Georgia Tech is always a kind of an interesting program because South Carolina used to play them a good bit in the 80s. There as an independent. Obviously, there's some ACC ties. There was the wild Bobby Crimmins situation. It's strange. South Carolina, I think, was scheduled to play Georgia Tech. Do you remember when that game was scheduled for? I think
God.
It was scheduled last year maybe, or it was scheduled maybe 2020, and then obviously it got bumped. But it's weird that South Carolina and Georgia Tech really across the board, baseball, basketball, football, they don't play each other. There's no game. There's nothing between the two schools.
No, I know. It is kind of strange. Well, back when Georgia Tech ran that garbage triple option offense, I didn't want to play them anyways. Right. We hadn't been able to stop that for 100 years. Baseball, basketball, we should play them. I mean, they're making more of an effort to play teams in North Carolina, ACC schools. It is an interesting job, though. I mean, it is hard for me, and I thought this before this became the trend that is now. It is hard to look at Georgia Tech and think that you don't throw all your eggs in that Deion Sanders basket. I mean, honestly, think about it. Like, he is Atlanta. He is beloved in Atlanta. He's prime time. Like, he's going to bring people to games. Okay, that's number one. He's going to be able to sign players. I mean, look at some of the kids he's signing at Jackson State, dude. It's crazy. And then, on top of all that, I think he's turned into a pretty good coach. I mean, honestly, Bill, I think he's turned into a pretty good coach. I think he does it differently. He's got a pretty good staff. He probably would need to upgrade that once again. But if you really think about Georgia Tech, think about this, Bill. You're in Atlanta, man. You're in Atlanta. Every school in the Southeast and beyond goes to Atlanta to recruit and sign players. You're in it. You don't really have to go anywhere to sign players. You're in Atlanta. So if you just sign your share of players from your not home state, from your hometown, your home city, you're going to compete because Georgia and Florida and South Carolina and Alabama and Auburn and Tennessee and everybody else under the sun, Clemson, they go to Atlanta and they sign the best players and they take them out of Atlanta. So if you're Georgia Tech and you can keep the best players in Atlanta home playing for Deion Sanders, you're going to compete in the ACC. It's I don't know. It's hard for me to get away from his
name. The staff. I'm not even going to sit here and pretend to know how good Deion Sanders is as a actual football coach. What I do know is I think that at times we because someone's loud or flashy or to an extent obnoxious, we don't think they're a good business person. Well, I think Deion Sanders is a good business guy, and I think he knows how to run an organization, and that means putting guys in place to run your organization, such as an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, a special teams coach, whatever, and then being the head and the face of the organization. And there's no doubt Deion Sanders at Jackson State has been able to do that, but they are 4-3 this year. They did go 11-2 last year. Or they're 4-3, and I think 11-2, and they're 4-0 this year. So you look at what he's done again in terms of like X's and O's and calling up ball plays, but he knows how to manage. That's where it could be really interesting how he does that. We'll come back. We'll finish this up with Jamie. We'll get his final thoughts on that South Carolina game as well. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
It's our 15th anniversary, and without you, Columbia,
This might be a polka station by now.
our 15th anniversary celebration is sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, getting you better sooner.
On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Capital Palmetto Builders.
Uh-oh, that little leak could be a big problem. Capital Palmetto Builders has 22 years of experience in roofing repairs and maintenance. We're HAG certified, insured, and offering free inspections. Go to capitalpalmettobuilders.com and see why real professionals make all the difference.
I can walk again. I can cross my legs again. I can wear heels again.
After years of living with chronic joint pain, Andrea Southard is now living a normal life, pain-free, thanks to natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetics.
We tried everything, and my husband had heard the commercial for QC Kinetics on the radio, and he told me to call him and check it out.
That phone call changed Andrea's life. QC Kinetics used powerful natural biologics to treat her aching joints. It's high-tech.
Yeah, I think the polka song is becoming quite popular. Oh, I'm over here trying to, thankfully off camera, I'm trying to stretch and loosen up. That's why I'm.
You're thinking about retirement soon. Be sure to tune in to Save Your Retirement with Pat Scruby, a preservation specialist. What that? As he talks about the latest trends and headlines that could impact your retirement. Now go to retirement. Listen to Sunday morning to Save Your Retirement with Pat Scruby. Offers insurance services, investment advisors, Life matters. An NFL great Lawrence Taylor retired in 1994. During his last game, he asked the ref for his yellow flag. The question as to why he wanted it, Taylor replied, "You've thrown it at me often enough for years. I thought it was mine." I feel like that some days. You probably do too. When I was a kid, we used to play kill the man with the ball. It was basically a version of football in which you got the ball and ran for your life. No rules, no boundaries, just try to survive. None of us ever did. We ran until we were exhausted or a faster guy caught us. And then everybody got over. Life preparation.
Not good. Not good. That was maybe my worst round. I've never injured my wrist in a round of golf, so we were on number 7 at Lexington, if you're familiar with number 7 at Lexington. And I was just off the fairway in a clump of grass, like kind of a heavy thing of grass. And when I swung, my right wrist kind of like popped, just kind of, and it very strange. And man, it hurt for a couple holes. Hey, Jen, it's timed out again.
Yeah, I saw he went away. I'm so tired.
Ask him if he wants to do, if he's taking the kids to school, or if he wants to do the first segment, since we're behind the 8 ball here going into this one. If he wants to do the first segment of the 8 o'clock hour.
All right.
And then just let me know.
This update is sponsored by AAA Heating and Air, home of the $1,500 buyback. AAA Heating and Air must clear out its warehouse before new government efficiency regulations go into effect in 2023. No deals will be turned down. Call today to get a new unit tomorrow. 803-677-1500.
When you need us, AAA Heating and Air.
Being picked up on the highways this morning, Conbury Road, that is, Conbury Road, at Garnet Ferry Road, an accident there. Also, I-26 eastbound at Broad River Road, line to tie up I-26 westbound at exit 91. Rockerberry Lane and Mallet Hill Road is heavily supported there, as well as Trim Road near Beltline Boulevard. 87 for the high today, 81 tomorrow, 75 on Wednesday, and all eyes are on PTN. It is
Okay, we'll keep Jamie for another segment.
Shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The early game with Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen on your home of the Gamecocks. The early game, 107.5 The Game.
Final segment of the second hour. You're on the early game, joined by Jamie Bradford, as we do each and every Monday, and talking some football. Just kind of final thoughts on the weekend it was. Jamie will stay with us for another segment. We'll get back into the South Carolina game. But, yeah, Jamie, was it Steven on our live stream saying, how much do you think Brian Harsin was sweating as Missouri player was going in for the winning score? Yeah, that. Auburn's a situation down there. It's just a matter of time, right?
Yeah, I don't think you could find a lot of people that think that at the end of this season, Brian Harsin is going to be retained. I really don't. I mean, unless they don't lose any more games. But I can think of 2 more games they're going to lose. One's against number 1 Georgia, and the other's against number 2 Alabama, and that'll be enough, because they hate losing to Alabama, and they hate losing to Georgia, and they hate losing, and they hate Brian Harsin. You put all that together, and that's probably not going to work out for them. So, yeah, it's over. Let's just say that. It's over. They beat San Jose State by 8, and they got pounded by Penn State. Yeah, they almost lost this weekend. So.
They've got LSU this coming weekend, and it feels like they're just waiting to lose a game so they can fire him after a loss. And I think Saturday.
Yep, and then they're going to hire Will Muschamp.
Yeah, you're on that. I think you. I think you or JC. One of y'all was a couple weeks ago saying, "Hey, it's not as crazy as you think. It's not." And there's some reasons for that. When Harsin's officially gone, we'll get into that real quick, and we'll get back into the South Carolina game coming up in the next segment when you join us as you stick around for an extra segment. What do you make of Tennessee? What are we making of the Volunteers now after what you've seen?
I think they're really good. I think that Florida this weekend, Florida's, I got a feeling, going to be kind of Jekyll and Hyde throughout the season. But Tennessee has kind of relearned how to win, Bill, and I think that's scary. For a while there, they were a program that had kind of, it's not that they were just losing, they kind of forgotten how to win, which happens, right? And that's not the case anymore. They're off this weekend, and then they got to go to LSU. LSU is not as good this year, but I can tell you what, they win down there. If they win in Baton Rouge, they're 5-0, and then all of a sudden you've got Bama and Tennessee, old school, undefeated, top 5 Bama and Tennessee in Knoxville on October 15th. Holy smokes. We will continue talking some college. We'll get back into South Carolina. Jamie will stick around for one more segment. We will have some kind of final thoughts on South Carolina's 56-20 win. Yeah, Tennessee, though,
up to number 8 in the most recent AP Top 25 poll that came out yesterday. Boy, that South Carolina schedule now, you start factoring in more top 10 teams. That's not what you need. Is Tennessee getting back to the top of the SEC Eastern Division, but certainly a big win this weekend. We'll get into some more South Carolina stuff when we come back. Jamie Bradford, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Celebrating our 15th anniversary of Columbia Sports Talk Station.
WNKT.
Oh.
If prescribed, your medication will be shipped to your door in discreet packaging. Do it all online. No in-person appointments. Get hard results with HIMS or your money back. Go to forhims.com/radio to get your first visit free. That's forhims.com/radio to get started free. forhims.com/RAD. Almost $500,000 back to debt. Had John Aiken off. So I gave him a call and he gave me the confidence to trust him after the reason behind my tax problems anyways was trusting someone I probably should have never trusted. He did everything he said he was going to do. The staff at the office were great knowledge. With John's help, I have no tax debt now, and I was able to have a family that otherwise I would have never been able to have. It's great to know we have changed people's lives for the better. Hi, this is local attorney John Aiken with the Aiken Law. For over a decade, our office has been dedicated to helping hardworking individuals and businesses solve tax problems for good. If you have years of unfiled tax returns or are facing IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, call our office today, 771-9800, or go to EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Let's get your tax problem solved for good. Call today.
Schroeder's Towing wants to remind you that the game isn't over, even after the final whistle.
Yeah, how about that turnover? Oh, yeah. We're not turning over. This is a bad time to bring up the false start.
Schroeder's Towing always has your back, every day and every game day. When the final whistle blows, we're ready to tow. The fastest response comes from the most trusted and reliable name in towing. Schroeder's Towing, the best hookers in town.
Accountability for my good friend at Danes Bank City and Ferguson. City banks don't sound like something you think about a lot because you don't really need to. Not good ones. They work so well, keeping energy costs down, your comfort level up. All kinds of campaigns, big, small, white, quality fans. We have accessories, like kids, fan blades, more. Stop by and see them soon. Arlington Boulevard next to Total One or Home 781 fans. Enjoy Gamecock football Saturday at the lovely Craft Food Company on Green Street, running against Overlay Columbia Craft Virginia headquarters.
Oh man, I think I'm actually getting more tired as we are going through the show. Trying to stretch out my back. Thank goodness y'all don't see when I do my stretching sessions here during the break. Bucks, Bucks, Bucks. That's Bucks, Bucks.
Monday morning. Jamie Bradford, one more segment. Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, as we get you up and going after a 56-20 victory for South Carolina over the weekend. They knock off Charlotte. They move to 2-2 on the season. Charlotte drops to 1-4. And Jamie, we've talked a lot about it this morning. There's only so much you can take away from Saturday night. We know the Charlotte 49er defense is statistically one of, if not the worst defense. I don't know where they're at after Saturday night's game. I didn't even think to look and see exactly if they fell any more spots. I think they were within both total defense, passing defense, and rushing defense. They were all within the bottom three of the country, 131, 130, and 129, respectively. So you knew they weren't good. But as we've talked a little bit about this morning, South Carolina does what they need to do. They won a game by 36. They blew someone out. They ran the football. Those things you can at least be positive about this morning.
Yep, no doubt. I mean, again, as I mentioned earlier, about an hour ago, you finally got to be sitting in Williams-Brice Stadium in the fourth quarter, and you were able to relax a little bit. That just hasn't happened often enough, and it needs to happen more. So you have to. I think one thing that Shane said one time is dead on, and I really appreciate the fact that he said it. Hey, we're always going to celebrate wins, and that's good. It doesn't mean that everything's fine. We've won. We're good. Hey, man, we finally won again. We beat Charlotte this weekend. We're back on track. No, that's not what it means, but you only get 12 games a year, and with what this program's been through the last few years, celebrating a win isn't the worst thing in the world, but they still have plenty of stuff to work on, man. But overall, the players on Saturday night, I texted you that last night. I said I was, once again, more impressed with the players than I was the playbook, and I mean that in a good way. These guys looked hungry, and they looked like they knew they had an opportunity with a couple of games coming up that they should perform very well in. They knew they had an opportunity to kind of try to get things figured out, and it looks like they've started that process.
Yeah, again, they'll have to do almost the same exact thing this coming weekend. I think to give people some hope, or at least a feeling of hope going to Kentucky again. Kentucky's got Mississippi this weekend, so you do look at that, Jamie, and you go, okay, South Carolina's got a bit of another bye week, essentially, or a warm-up game to get ready for the Wildcats. The Wildcats, on the other hand, that's going to be a fun game against Lane Kiffin in Mississippi. That's going to be one that you're going to want to tune into at noon or have that second TV on to keep an eye on, because that's going to be a challenge for Kentucky. And tell us a little bit more about them.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, Kentucky's good. I mean, we know what Mark does historically defensively, but offensively is becoming more and more of a conversation with the Wildcats. I mean, that's kind of been their big thing for a while that has held them back from time to time. I mean, we've all questioned whether Will Levis was truly a elite or top-notch quarterback in this league. I remember when he transferred into Lexington, and my old partner, when I was, still doing the media stuff, it was actually a Penn State guy, and he said, this kid just isn't very good. That's what he told me. He said he just hasn't performed very well. He's got a chance, but he just has not been able to put it together, et cetera, et cetera. Well, he's kind of been able to do that, and they had basically their best offensive weapon, out for the first few games of the year because of, I don't know. Did we ever find out what was wrong? What happened to Rodriguez? Why he was out? They may know. Or is that still a secret?
The running back, Chris Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I thought
still a secret, or
he's cleared to play this weekend, but I haven't. Of course, what month did he go? What month did he go out? It was an NCAA matter. He was arrested for a DUI in May, but I believe it was the NCAA matter is what ended up. I guess you'd call it a suspension. Remember, Mark Stoops got all weird about that.
That's what I'm saying.
He said, it was strange the way he addressed that situation a while back. But yeah, I thought the suspension for the DUI was 3 games, and then it ended up being 6.
Right, but then it was like back down to 4.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I think it's more along the lines of honestly the old school way of doing things. How long can we keep him out until we actually need to get him back in so we can play him?
Right.
Oh. We got Ole Miss coming up in week 5. Okay, he's suspended 4 games.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. But look, hey, it's important this weekend, Bill, once again, to get better, right, for South Carolina. I mean, so what are the things that they need to get better on? Well, I can tell you one thing. I am very concerned, as I know Coach Beamer is. I think we all probably are now with what's going on at defensive ends.
Yeah.
I mean, this is let's just be honest, it's not good, and so you think about the amount of pressure that's now on Jordan and Zach Pickens to really be them, be the 5 stars, right? Like, that's the one thing where I am less discouraged about this is like, hey, look, these 2 guys, one at tackle and one at end, have everything in a bag of peanuts inside of them to be superstars in this league and go on to the NFL and have outstanding careers. And so if they can stay healthy, that can be the Gamecocks saving grace up there, knowing that defensive end all of a sudden has had a bunch of injury issues. So they got to continue to find guys there. I looked out there the other night. I said, who the hell is 46? And then I realized, well, that's Brian Thomas. And he reminded me of a few years ago when we were playing Aaron Sterling and Brad Johnson undersized out there at defensive end. You remember that? Like 17, I think it was, or 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, who the hell is that? I couldn't even tell who it was. And then it was Brian Thomas. But so, the injuries, can they get enough guys back healthy? Cam Smith had a nice night the other night. I don't care who you're playing. That pick he had in the second half was outstanding. And then on the offensive side of the football, Bill, you asked me last Monday, you said, what do you want to see? And you mentioned stats or whatever it was. And I said, I just want to see us figure out who the hell we are. What type of identity does this football team have? Well, Beamer said Saturday night that he told that we got to run the ball at least 40 times, and they did. That's who they are. Now, I'm not saying it was all perfect. And by the way, a lot of those plays that happened Saturday night, those are going to be tackles for loss in the SEC. Okay, it's just the way it is. But they also ran for 300 yards. So even if you do get tackled for loss instead of an extra 50 or 60 yards like you had on a few of those, you still run for over 200 yards if you want to look at it that way. So they have got to continue to find a way to be the best running football team they can. I think that is South Carolina's best version of South Carolina on offense.
This is a text from Kentucky Joe, just to go back. I haven't seen this reported. If this is true, this is very funny. Kentucky Joe says Rodriguez was illegally clocking in at a Kentucky hospital, getting extra hours as an intern. That's why he was suspended.
What?
Hey, Kentucky Joe is sending it in. It's as good as I've heard, and he is a good texter. He's not a guy who takes shots or anything. He is so yeah.
No, that's
all right.
Appreciate that. All right, that's all right.
Thank you for that.
Are you okay, sir? No, I'm not. Well, I'm Dr. Rodriguez. I'm here to assist you today. I mean,
not like wandering you. Well, all right. So thank you for that. Real quick, anonymous texter weighs in, says still concerned about the first quarter start, slow out of the gate. Look, I had no problem. I had no problem with the first quarter start. They South Carolina went on a 5-minute drive. The only problem I had is they ran the ball the way down the field. They get down to the 2-yard line, and for some reason, that's the time to go play action, and that drives me absolutely insane. But if you go back, then Charlotte gets the ball and chews up about 7 minutes. I think it was officially a 7-minute drive. I only say this because I think a little bit's being made too much of the start to the game. South Carolina got the ball and then went on a 3-minute drive of their own and scored 8 seconds into the second quarter. I understand what people are saying about slow start, but it's not like they went down and had to settle for a 40-yard field goal. They got down to the 2-yard line, and then I got an issue with the one play right there. But I don't know if I'd define that as a slow start, especially when Charlotte holds the ball basically for the remainder of the quarter.
No. Yeah, I would. I get the point. And you know what? If he could have that text back, he'd probably word it a little bit differently. I get what he's saying. It's more of a red zone offense issue for me. Like, be an SEC football team. You're on the 2. Just put the football in the end zone. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the things that I can't stand. Like, I don't need you to get flashy down there. I don't need to see the dadgum wishbone. You're in the SEC. Run the ball in the end zone. That's what you do. That's what you're supposed to be able to do. So yeah, it's kind of a red zone thing for me. I will add this. It's a double-edged sword type. Not double-edged sword, but there's two sides of it, I guess. Defensively, again, there were times where it was like, hey, guys, this isn't working. This doesn't work. They have too much time. Shane said they didn't change much at halftime. Not sure how much I'm buying into that, because the second half they put significant more pressure on Charlotte's quarterback and quarterbacks, and it caused all kinds of issues. And pressure, like Bill, as much as football, like it used to be a sack game, right? It's not a sack game as much anymore. Yeah, there's still teams out there that get a bunch of sacks, but it's not like it used to be. It's a pressure game now. Like you're trying to force guys to make mistakes. And South Carolina's greatest asset last season, of all things that they did well, was turnovers. When they created turnovers last year, they were successful. And this team has not created enough turnovers until Saturday night. And a lot of that, all of them, had to do with putting pressure on the quarterback to where his timing was just a smidge off. Man, if you are 6 inches off or a foot off and throwing the football, it causes problems. And that's what happened Saturday night. And Charlotte is not Kentucky and A&M and Tennessee and all these other teams, but pressure is still pressure. Those are better players. But the more pressure you can get on guys, you're going to have to take some chances. Like, you can't be scared to go in there and go try to get those guys. You let them sit back in this league. Think about all the quarterbacks that are coming up. Levis and Hooker and all these guys, they can pitch the ball all over the yard. You got to go get them and try to make something happen.
We will get you back on next week, and we'll really start looking at the Kentucky game. Hopefully we're not, I love Buddy Pugh. I think Buddy very well. Great guy. Love that program and what South Carolina State means and stands for. You just hope it's not this Saturday and that next Monday we're having an awkward conversation.
Well, and to your point, hey, with the weather expected this weekend, probably a heavy dose of running the football is headed our way again for South Carolina. And I think that's good. Let these guys keep eating. By the way, quick shout out to Bennett Swigert, one of the coolest dudes out there. Played at Summerville, quarterback for the Gamecocks years ago. Him and Michael Flynn are tight. Bennett is the offensive coordinator for South Carolina State, and he is really, really good. So look for his name in circles upcoming.
I'm trying to remember who I was talking to or we interviewed recently. It might have been. I thought it was on our show, Jen. I thought it was on this one. And it wasn't Preston Thorne on the extra point that comes up next, but that said that if not for those knee injuries, that Bennett Swigert would have ended up being one of the best quarterbacks to come through South Carolina. It was just the injuries are just decimated him and really took away the player he was.
Oh, dude, and you go back, and this is, by the way, this is not taking anything away from Bennett, but prior to that, that staff was looking at offering one quarterback a scholarship, in state that year. And it was between Michael Flynn at Wando, who's, my best friend, and Bennett. And Michael, for the second year in a row, broke his collarbone. So he broke his left one and then his right one. So he was out. And then Bennett got it, and Bennett got hurt. And I'm not saying that Bennett wouldn't have got it anyways. Don't misunderstand me there. Bennett was an outstanding quarterback. But Michael took his chances away when he broke that collarbone. And then Bennett got it. He had all those injuries, and he is just a great guy. Like, that's a really good family. I mean, that just sucked. But you're right, and I've heard that a bunch too. He had a chance to be really, really, really special. He'll be excited to be up there this weekend. Hey, before I go, I meant to mention this to you when I first got on. I was driving home after the game Saturday night. Jen, this is more for you than anything because I started laughing. There was a spot that came on in the post-game show, and it was Gunner, and it was the classic, oh, crap, we've got 40 seconds of script, so we're going to have to get it into 30.
Yep. I've had a couple people ask me about that. Yep. That's production at its finest.
And I was going to say, and that wasn't Bill able to speak that fast. Trust me, I was able to manipulate that to speed that little puppy up.
Tell you
a
what,
lot.
That call-in show on the way, I listened to it. That call-in show on the way home was wild. I mean, some of those phone calls were just I don't envy those guys. And I almost called in to Chris Miller and was like, "Hey man, you're doing a heck of a job. Just hang in there. Just hang in there.
Hang in there." I don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
Good
deal.
Magic in production, man. 40 seconds into 30.
Dude.
Sounding good.
It was as fast as I could read it, and it sped up a few extra times. So it's got people's attention. I guess that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So.
Yeah.
Good
Appreciate
hearing from you,
y'all.
Jamie. We look forward to catching up with you next month. I hope you feel better, buddy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
That
it.
was
See you, Jen.
Game 6 or game 4? What was the Jordan game that he played sick? That was a Jordan-esque performance there from Jamie Bradford.
Very solid. Actually, I think was stronger ill than you tend to be when you're healthy.
Yeah, it's because he
So-
only does it one time a week. I do it.
Is that
now.
what it
He's-
is?
Yeah, he
Oh.
gets a breather now. He gets
Oh,
a
okay.
breather. So that's exactly what it is. 803-404-6100. We come back. We'll get some phone calls and get into some of those text messages y'all been sending in. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. He was Jamie Bradford. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game's 15th anniversary rewind.
2009.
Michael Jackson dies at the age of 50. The movie Avatar is released. It'll go on to break many box office records. U.S. Airways Flight 1549 is struck by geese, forcing a crash landing on the Hudson River by pilot Sully Sullenberger. All 155 people on board survived. At Carolina, the football team went 7-6 and lost the Papa John's Bowl to UConn. The men's basketball team finished 21-10 in Coach Darren Horn's first year. The women's hoop squad completed Coach Don Staley's first season 10-18. And the baseball team went 40-23 and advanced to the NCAA regionals.
Our 15th anniversary celebration on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, getting you better sooner.
On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game and the new 107.5 The Game app.
If you've been suffering from back pain, if you've been thinking about visiting a doctor, getting a little chiropractic work, I can tell you right now, you need to call KC Chiropractic, 803-796-2424. KC Chiropractic strives to bring its patients affordable, effective, lasting, gentle spine healthcare. They do it the right way. They want to get you back to living the way you should. They want to do it without surgery. And they're not going to run you through some kind of crazy treatment plan. They're also not going to bill you for things that you're completely unaware of. They're very honest up front. It's a pay-as-you-go type system. They even file all major insurances. So get that appointment scheduled today. Stop living in pain. If you've had issues with arm numbness, you've been sore in your shoulders and you're not really able to get it out, maybe you want to get some spinal decompression treatment, something Casey Chiropractic Center specializes in. Give them a phone call today, 803-796-2424. 40 years of combined experience from Dr. Pate and Dr. Roman Cooper. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how to help you get back and doing it without surgery. They want to do it the right way. And again, they want to make sure it's affordable for you. 803-796-2424. That's how you can get in touch with Dr. Pate, Dr. Roman Cooper today. Get over and see them at Casey Chiropractic Center. That phone number one more time, 803-796-2424.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. Shepherd's.
All right, I gotta get some water. We're struggling here.
Circular lane at Mountain Hill Road and accidents. Two others to let you know about. Cruise Creek Church Road at Wood Creek Farms Road and St. Peter's Road and Ashland Road. Be careful out there this morning, boy. Going to see a high today of 87. That's about the warmest we'll see this week. And then we're looking for high tomorrow 81, 75 on Wednesday. We'll start really watching what Ian is going to be doing. How that impacts the weather. Right now, those 65 at 105. Okay.
Much better Monday than last week, right?
season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free, that's back. If your first bet doesn't win, just sign up with code WIN. FanDuel has all your favorite bets on the money line with point spread play props. So sign up today with code WIN for your no-sweat first bet. Make every moment forward this season with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
I'm going to call that really long female back here.
Is everyone going to be calling for Beamer?
Yeah, the long cut. I saw one a minute ago. It was like a 3-minute cut. Oh, I guess I can throw this stuff away now.
And don't miss a variety of channels from your favorite brand.
Here we go. 22. All right.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by, shop online today, and see why Herndon Chevrolet.
You said you're calling for it, right? Okay. Kind of like to be straight in.
Eight zero 404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning as we continue talking about South Carolina's 56-20 victory over Charlotte on Saturday night, a game in which the Gamecocks, look, nobody's trying to sell anybody that, okay, this means South Carolina's ready to go and that look out Kentucky and look out Texas A&M and look out Tennessee. Here come the Gamecocks. What you can take away from it is that South Carolina does have some playmakers. You just said, look, I don't. It is college football at the end of the day. When you got Marshawn Lloyd hurdling a guy and running for a touchdown, I don't care if it's Charlotte or South Carolina State or Clemson. It's pretty solid. There were positives to take away. One of them is that South Carolina dedicated the game to the running game. And I'm telling you, I would not be as happy about this had they come in and thrown it 40 times for 400 or 450 yards. And we were sitting here talking about it. But the fact that they dedicated themselves to running the football on Saturday night, which is what they need to do again against South Carolina State, build confidence on this coming week, going into that SEC schedule, that's a good sign. And here's a little bit of Shane Beamer. He talked about the overview of the offensive game plan on Saturday. Here's what he had to say in regards to what they were trying to do and what they wanted to accomplish Saturday night with their offense.
Really proud of that offensive line. We just gave the offensive line a game ball and gave Marshawn Lloyd a game ball. The key to the game was going to be to dominate the line of scrimmage. And the way they play their safeties, the running backs, we're going to have to make some one-on-one plays, make people miss. I mean, that was literally the key to the game that we told the offense or told the team on Tuesday, offensively. Run or dominate the line of scrimmage, and running backs win your one-on-ones. And Marshawn did that. He got a game ball in there, averaging 11 yards per carry. Proud of those guys. And then when you see when you run the ball like that, it makes things a little bit easier in the passing game as well. I didn't like the way we started the football game on defense. Thought we were very lethargic. Didn't have a lot of energy. Disappointed a little bit in the competitive spirit. And and then they responded. We challenged them, and the biggest thing I saw from that early in the first half, I mean, it wasn't like they were racking up a ton of yards. We just couldn't get off the field on third down, and disappointing to not be able to get off the field. We pride ourselves on getting off the field on third down and weren't able to do it. But they came back. Coach White always says those turnovers come in bunches once you get one, and we were able to do that tonight. So that was awesome to see. And missed too many sacks. I think that game could have gotten under control a little bit better in the first half if we just don't miss sacks, and we missed a couple of those. Really proud of the way our guys played in the third quarter. I know it great. It was ugly there for a while in the first half. Second quarter, we get a stop finally on defense. They punt it, and then we went, 95 yards, I think, and then finished with a field goal or 90 yards, whatever it was. It was a long drive, 2-minute offense to get a field goal there, and then to come out in the third quarter and score 3 touchdowns was fantastic. Proud of our guys, because we talk about when adversity hits, we get stronger, and that we were going to face some tonight, and it wasn't pretty, and probably was some people's sense, oh gosh, here we go again, and things like that. And we shut the door on that in the second half as well. Didn't like the way we finished, put some of our backups in there in the fourth quarter, and had a penalty defensively, gave up a touchdown pass over our heads on defense, 2 turnovers on offense, and just told the team in there, like, there's a standard we play to here, and it doesn't matter what the scoreboard says or who's in the game, you're expected to play a certain way. And disappointed in that as well, but good to see some young guys get in there and make some plays, and another step. Now the key for us, we just told the team in the locker room, we haven't won back-to-back games here since we beat Eastern Illinois and East Carolina last season, game 1 and game 2. So all last year we were just up and down, win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1. And proud of the resiliency our team showed last year to never lose 2 games in a row and always come back. But it's time for us now to put another great week of practice together, which is what we had this week, and then go try and get better as a football team this week. That's what we challenged our guys on this week, was just block out all the other stuff and just get better. And they did, and we're going to need to again this week before South Carolina State comes in here. So.
That's Shane Beamer talking after the game. A lot about the offense and then just the game in general. Certainly, I go back and last year South Carolina blew out Eastern Illinois 46-0. What they were expected to do. They were expected to blow out Charlotte. They were, I think it might have gotten to 24. I didn't see the final line. The last time I saw it around 5:00 on Saturday, it was around 23.5. So big favorite. I picked Charlotte to cover. I really didn't think South Carolina would go out and do kind of what they did. And that's, maybe I was being negative. Maybe I'm the negative person here in the group. But I thought that South Carolina would put up about 38 points. They'd give up about 20 or 21. Certainly getting the turnovers and giving South Carolina some short fields helped tremendously in this ball game. But Spencer Rattler was effective, 17 of 23 for 187 yards. Again, Marshawn Lloyd, 15 catches for 169 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jalen Brooks had 3 receptions for 67 yards on Saturday night. He's come along quite nicely and kind of has added to that wide receiving group. Amarion Brown had 3 catches for 55 yards in the game. Corey Rutger gets in late. Antoine Wells making a little bit of an appearance with 2 catches for 27 yards. You had guys get involved. Gene Bell continues to be missing in action, just 2 catches for 9 yards on Saturday night. That's a guy that at some point they've got to kind of get going a little bit more, but certainly you look at what they did, and that's what they had to do. That's what they were expected to do. Now, it's easy to say a lot of stuff about that, right? Miami was a 20-some-odd point favorite over Middle Tennessee. Didn't get the job done. A couple weeks ago, Kansas State was a big favorite over over Tulane. Didn't get the job done. We know about Texas A&M and Appalachian State, Nebraska, and Georgia Southern a couple of weeks ago. I guess the point being is you still have to go and win the game. You still have to go out and win the football game, even if it's a bad opponent. And South Carolina was able to do that, and they were able to put the game away early. 803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. Come back. We'll continue on. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Our 15th anniversary celebration on 107.5 The Game
is sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, getting you better sooner.
on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game and the new 107.5 The Game app.
All right, we're going to two things. We're going to do a lot. We got a lot going on. It's a busy Monday morning. We've had Jamie Bradford. Appreciate him being a part of the program. Right now, we're going to give you a pair of tickets to the South Carolina State game. It's sponsored by Carolina Honda Powerhouse. It's the Carolina Honda Powerhouse ticket giveaway. They are giving you a chance to win right now. We'll take caller number 5, a pair of tickets to Saturday's game against South Carolina State. Visit Carolina Honda Powerhouse at carolinahonda.com. 803-404-6100. Phone call right now wins you a pair of tickets to Saturday's game against South Carolina State. It's the Carolina Honda Powerhouse ticket giveaway.
Call now to win Gamecocks tickets right here. 803-404-6100.
Sponsored by Carolina Honda Powerhouse, your source for Honda Power Sports, ATVs, motorcycles, side-by-sides, and generators.
From your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
And traffic conditions out there. We have a report of a tie-up. Highway 302 near Highway 6. I-26 eastbound just after that peak exit. The left lane is currently blocked, so stay right. I-26 eastbound at the peak exit. I-26 westbound at exit 91, an accident there. Also find one Spears Creek Church Road at Wood Creek Farms Road and St. Andrews Road at Ashland. 87 for the high today, 81 tomorrow. Then it cools into the low to mid 70s until we see what happens with Hurricane Ian. Right now, 67, 107.5 The Game.
Hi, my husband and I own a small business in Columbia, and we ended up needing some help with some tax problems that we had and needed to get resolved.
Oh, Jen, I hear Jen celebrating with somebody. Somebody won the tickets. Not real sure what my man's trying to say here. I think he or she is up bright and early, not completely awake. And I'm not 100% sure what's happening with the $4 bills here. Tell you what, try and do a little bit of a show and tune away from the live stream, and the next thing you know, it's completely gone off the rails. Also, I need to take that off. Jamie's not with it. There we go. Okay. Back to the real world. What game? Which game? Are you ever, which game are we talking about? The soccer game? The football game? Is there a game tonight? Cowboys? That's actually, and if you're talking about the South Carolina game, that's actually a good question. I guess I should look up if they've posted the schedule for my son's soccer game. Let me see. Depends. Carolina Cup soccer. Let's see if they posted my son's soccer schedule yet. That'll determine whether I go to the game or not. Oh, we got a schedule.
This is Stephen Nuttall. Now, nearly 4 decades later, many families, they were still customers. 35 years, we are managed all of your automotive tires and brakes to complete engine repair. New location at 32. Not all. My family takes pride in service. Locally owned Atlantic Windows and Doors has been making Columbia area homes more comfortable, attractive, weather-tight, and energy efficient for over 35 years. Now, by distributing products from the best window and door manufacturers in the country. These products give you the best looks, the best quality, and the best value, all based on your specific needs. And everything is professionally installed by their dedicated and experienced employees, not subcontractors. Atlantic Windows and Doors. Visit them online at awdsc.com. What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game. Sponsored by Chevrolet. 803-404-6100. How you can be a part of the program. Congratulations there to Keith Schultz, who won some tickets. He'll get to go to the game on Saturday. Check out South Carolina and South Carolina State scheduled for 12 noon. This weekend, right now, as it stands, is set to be really the best weekend of the college football season to date. You've got some really good games. Obviously, game day is going up to Memorial Stadium to catch Clemson and North Carolina State. That one certainly will be a really good ball game there. Battle of top 10 teams taking place up there at Clemson. Just to give you a quick breakdown, Kentucky and Mississippi will be the noon game. That game's in Oxford. That's number 7 Kentucky versus number 14 Mississippi. So that's a great way to get the day started on Saturday. You've got at 3:30. Number 2, Alabama traveling to Fayetteville. We'll really see if Alabama, this will be the, I don't know. It depends on how you want to look at it. Our buddy Richard on the text line earlier was talking about how Alabama has not really looked all that impressive so far this year, the close win over Texas. But now the Crimson Tide travel to Fayetteville to take on Arkansas. 3:30 CBS game. Another ranked versus ranked matchup. Number 9 Oklahoma State at number 16 Baylor. That'll be a 3:30 game as well on Fox. So that should be pretty good. And one other ranked versus ranked game. Number 22 Wake Forest travels to number 23 Florida State. The Seminoles back in the rankings now, and they will host Wake Forest at 3:30. So your 3:30 slate actually has some good ones there lined up with again, Alabama, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Wake Forest, Kansas. You heard Jamie Bradford kind of joking. One other 3:30 game, I guess you keep an eye on. Iowa State, who lost to Baylor this past week, goes to, I'm going to say this correctly, undefeated Kansas. That is correct. Undefeated Kansas hosts Iowa State 3:30 on Saturday as well. So your 3:30 schedule, pretty strong slate of games. 4:00, by the way, Texas A&M at Mississippi State as well. So the afternoon portion of college football on Saturday should be really good. The night slate, you got LSU, Auburn, 7:00. Okay, maybe you're watching Brian Harson's final game. Georgia is at Missouri.
Missouri's not good at football right now. They and Auburn, what a pillow fight that was over the weekend. The big one on Saturday night, 7:30, you get North Carolina State at Clemson again. That game up at Memorial Stadium there in Clemson, and it should be a really good one there. We'll kind of talk more about that as the week kind of goes on. Other than that, Georgia Tech, who I believe, again, I've been looking this morning to see if an official announcement has come out from Georgia Tech. I've yet to see one, but they're having a special meeting of their board later this morning, and the official announcement should come down that Jeff Collins has been fired by Georgia Tech, and they will start a new head coaching search immediately. Again, Dennis Dodd has put out an article already pointing out Deion Sanders as a prime candidate, if you will. Oh, okay, you get the point. Arizona State at Southern Cal. Arizona State's a mess too. Oh boy, that is. I watched a little bit of that when I got home Saturday night. Arizona State was hosting Utah, and Arizona State is they're an absolute dumpster fire right now. Interested to see who takes that job. Stanford and Oregon, also a very late game on FS1, 11 p.m. So that's just a quick rundown of the schedule for this coming weekend. Again, the 3:30 section of games there, 3:30, 4 o'clock. You got what should be three pretty good ranked games there: Alabama and Arkansas, Oklahoma State and Baylor, and Wake Forest at Florida State. And then your 4 o'clock game also on the SEC network is Texas A&M and Mississippi State. So this coming Saturday should be a pretty good weekend of college football. A couple of the games that you might just want to keep an eye on: Minnesota, who's kind of right now, they popped Michigan State over the weekend. Purdue will go to Minneapolis and take on number 21 Minnesota now. So again, fun weekend of college football. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this program. Anything else that pops up, we'll let you know about. Keeping an eye on that Georgia Tech situation and seeing if an official announcement has come out from there. Again, they should be in the head coaching market here in just a few hours. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. All right, I think we are through most of the heat wave. I've not checked. Obviously, we know this hurricane is out there and could be heading our way, but I think we're through most of the heat wave. That should mean that your air conditioning may not be your biggest concern yet, but that doesn't mean you might not be able to take advantage of a great deal going on. Right now, AAA Heating and Air is making sure customers can enjoy new comfort in their home as quickly as tomorrow, and they're doing it with a phenomenal deal. Due to some changes to government regulations, current HVAC inventory will not be able to be sold after December 31st. You'll expect to pay a lot more starting in 2023 for a new Tier 2 HVAC system. So AAA Heating and Air is emptying the warehouse. Now's the time to make that purchase, a new system, if you will. You can buy it right now, and you're guaranteed financing. That doesn't just mean if you have great credit, don't worry about it, you're taken care of. It means you've got credit, you're going to be good with AAA Heating and Air. Not only that, it comes with a 15-year parts and labor warranty. So AAA Heating and Air, they've taken care of several of us here at the station. They know how to treat their customers correctly. Roy and Dana Finley, they run a family-oriented company, and they're going to make sure your family is taken care of. Give them a phone call today, 803-677-1500. Again, that's 803-677-1500. 1500. You can call AAA Heating and Air today. Get in touch with them. Take advantage of the great deals going on where they guarantee financing. Again, 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
And that's Campground Road at Hayward Brockington Road, an injury accident there. Also, the left lane currently blocked I-26 eastbound just after exit 97. We have a tie-up Highway 302 near Highway 6 and St. Andrews Road at Ashland Road. You'll find an accident there. 87 for the high today, 81 tomorrow. Then we drop into the 70s for Wednesday and Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, that's where we might start seeing some impact of Hurricane Ian. So right now, though, it's 67 at 107.5. The Game.
Sponsored by Taco Bell. Taco Bell is the place for breakfast. Why? Because of the Bacon Breakfast Quesadilla. This quesadilla stuffed with fluffy eggs, crispy bacon, and a 3-cheese.
Don't let them tell you steroids, pain medication, surgery are your only option. QC Kinetics uses regenerative treatments that restore and repair damaged tissue. Maybe you've been diagnosed with bone-on-bone arthritis and been told you need a replacement. Call QC Kinetics today for an alternative way to deal with the pain. These amazing protocols work with pain caused by injury as well as cord meniscus or rotator. Call QC Kinetics now. 802-881-6860. Don't keep living with that pain. Learn how regenerative medicine can give you your life back. No drugs. Call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation. 803-881-6860. That's again 803-281-6860. Zero Res Corporate and Air Gut Cleaning, the most trusted and reviewed cleaning company in town. Take advantage of all sale going on now in 3 rooms approximately for only $119. We mentioned me, Bill Gunner, 107.5 The Game. Easily schedule your cleaning online at ZeroResColumbia.com. Hey, if you've got a hole in your roof waiting a hole new, you need to call Midstay Roofing, 356-1919.
Yeah, doesn't look like I'll be going to the game. Actually, I guess I could go to the game. 10 a.m. done 11. What time's our other game? 3.
If you own or you're in charge of a large building, warehouse, or industrial facility, you're in charge of that roof. And at some point, a roof is going to need some attention. So never call for advice, service, results, and a commitment to customer satisfaction is 356-1919. See all the Midstay has to offer when you click on MidstayRoofing.com. Tell them Midstay Twins. If you have a leak, let Midstay Roofing take a peek. 356-1919, MidstayRoofing.com.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit nationalguard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the South Carolina Army National Guard, and by the South Carolina Broadcasting Association at this station. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studio. It is 107.5 The Game. Stop by, shop online today.
If you can, let's go 13 right here coming in. 13. How often do you communicate with Satterfield Weekly? Play that one. Oh boy, what's walking outside of the window right now?
Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night, Sat and Clayton and I, always sit down and just kind of talk about, okay, early in the week, here's what we think, here's how we best can attack these guys. And Tuesday night, we talk about the third down plan. Wednesday night, we talk about the red zone plan. So we're always communicating as well. I don't know how often I've been that specific about running the ball 40 times, but I don't think Sat needed me to tell him that. I mean, it wasn't like he was Don Coryell or somebody out there trying to throw the ball. Look that one up for all you young guys. Trying to throw the ball 60 times. I mean, he wants to run the ball as well. We all do, and knew it would help Spencer and help our entire offense if we could just get this run game going. And, I believe in running the football, and so does our offense and offensive staff.
Shane Beamer on Saturday night after the game, the 56-20 victory by South Carolina over Charlotte, talking about the offensive again, kind of plan throughout the week. And that needs to be South Carolina if they're going to make a bowl this year. And again, defenses are going to be a lot more difficult than Charlotte. So, there will have to be some adjustments. But if South Carolina is going to make a bowl game this year, if they're going to get to 6 wins, they're going to have a chance at 7 potentially. It's going to come because they line up and run the football, not because Spencer Rattler stands back there and throws it 30 times a game. This is just simply not going to work. That offensive line, I think, I'm going to say the offensive line has improved, and I'm not just basing that on one night against Charlotte. I think they've made strides from where they were against Georgia State to where they are through 4 games now, and I think they'll continue to get better as long as they can stay healthy. But for South Carolina's offense to be effective this year, and by the way, to help the defense, they have to be a run-first team. And this weekend, they should be able to line up and do whatever they want to do. If they want to run it or throw it, whatever they want to do against South Carolina State, you should be able to go out and pick your offense, pick your game plan, and execute it. But in 2 weeks, when they go up to Lexington, Kentucky, against a very physical, a very good Kentucky football program, South Carolina is going to need to line up that night. And you know what? Even if it is remember the Benny Snell game several years ago? I think it was 2018 where Kentucky came in here and slogged out a victory because Snell ran it 32 times for 102 yards. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't a highlight kind of night, but Kentucky stayed with the run game, kept South Carolina off balance, and was able to pull out a victory. And that's kind of what, as South Carolina goes through the remainder of the season and gets back into SEC competition, they're going to have to do. You're going to have to line up and feed Marshawn Lloyd the ball. And, Christian Bill Smith making an appearance and having a nice run on Saturday night. You got to continue to get him involved in the run game. 9 carries for 55 yards. He had that long of 27 for Bill Smith on Saturday night. So 24 combined rushes from Lloyd and Bill Smith, throwing another 9 from Juju McDowell. And South Carolina was attempting to run the football, and they're going to have to continue to do that as we move through the remainder of the season. They simply cannot run the football this week against South Carolina State and then say, okay, that's fixed. Now we go up to Kentucky in 2 weeks, and let's just go back to throwing it around like we did against Arkansas and Georgia. And some of that does come back to not getting down early. Brad Johnson was talking on Saturday night about the defense overthinking the first half. This was another game in which South Carolina, honestly, because they were scoring, nobody paid attention to it. But once again, South Carolina gives up scoring drives on their first 2 possessions defensively. Here's Brad Johnson talking about overthinking things in the first half of Saturday night's ball game.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like me specifically was overthinking, but I feel like us as a defense, we were kind of like maybe overthinking a little bit. And in that aspect is just really just, like I said, us not making the plays when they're there. So like we make the plays in practice all the time, and it's kind of like second nature. But I feel like we were just overthinking in the sense that when the plays were there, we were letting them slip through our hands, So I kind of label that as overthinking and not just trusting your instincts and making that play. But I feel like in the second half, like you said, I feel like in the second half we were able to play our game, play off instincts and not really overthink in the way that we were doing in the first quarter, first half, and we were able to let loose and have fun, and that's when plays start to be made.
So for the 4th straight game, South Carolina gives up the 3rd straight game. Remember, Georgia State went for it on 4th down and didn't get it in the season opener. But for the 4th straight game, South Carolina allows the opposition to move down the field against them to start the game. South Carolina's given up scores in the last 3 to Arkansas, Georgia, and now Charlotte. That defense has got to come out of the gate a little bit stronger, but they got things turned around on Saturday night, especially in the second half. They give up just 6 points there in the second half. Charlotte not able to convert on the 2-point conversion. And South Carolina limits Charlotte on Saturday night to just 292 yards, 213 of those coming through the air. So we'll continue discussing this tomorrow. Pearson Fowler up next, but we'll get more into this tomorrow. Shane Beamer will speak with the media again tomorrow as well. J.C. Sherbert will join us as he does each and every Tuesday. We'll get his take on what he saw Saturday night over at Williams-Brice Stadium. Thank you to Jamie Bradford for joining us. Thank you for all your participation throughout the morning. For Jen Jensen, I'm Bill Gunner. It's been the early game on 107.5 The Game.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus Media Station.
All right. Back to bed. Because Lord knows I'm just, struggling. So see you to everyone tomorrow. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great rest of the day.
Have a good one.